Hello there, everyone, and welcome to tonight's UW RSO community stream, where tonight we are featuring our UW League of Legends team in a live match in the Collegiate League of Legends series known as CLoL, where they will be facing off against Colorado School of Mines. Our esports programs seek to build and foster community, open doors for the vast career opportunities in the field of gaming, and promote the virtues of healthy competition. Through esports, we are able to communicate with one another, forming and developing digital communities so necessary in the challenging times that we are facing. We hope you enjoy being a part of our community, and we invite you to get more involved. You can follow us here or on our UW Esports Discord server, as well as on all our social channels at U of WA Esports. Now to introduce ourselves, my name is Aaron, second year at the University of Washington. Call me Kestra, and I'll be one of your casters tonight.
Hi, and my name is Eric, and you can also call me Lynk, and I will be your second caster for tonight.
And now, Lynk, tonight's game marks an important moment not only for the UW League of Legends team, but for all the participants in CLoL, seeing as this is the last week in the competition's regular season.
Indeed. And currently, UW's understanding is ranked at number 12, and in general, the second place of all the team who has 3 wins out of the 5 rounds so far. And the system of CLoL goes like this. Since we have so many teams in the same region, each team only plays 6 rounds of games, and then based on their total wins and their opponent's win percentage, their win rate percentage, between the teams that has the same number of wins, they will also have a difference. So currently, UW is setting up high among all the 3 win and 2 loss teams. However, should we lose this game, we will actually, unfortunately, be out. So this game is very crucial for us. And here we are in the pick and ban stage.
Yep, the stakes are high, and it all starts in the pick and ban phase. We can see UW leading with the Kaisa ban, getting out that strong AD carry, but here's a pretty interesting one in the form of the Master Yi, and while it might seem out of place in a competitive setting, Colorado School of Mines are no strangers to this pick, and they have picked up 2 wins with it in recent times, and now with UW locking in that Udyr for their first pick, handed it over to Drago8, Colorado School of Mines looking to answer it with the Senna, and going to be pretty interesting to see what they decide to pair this with for their second pick of the red side, and looks like it might be the Rel, and this is definitely no surprise, seeing as how hard their support decides to pivot into these kind of engaged supports, Link.
Yeah, and also Kestra, it is very worth mentioning that among all the games, I believe it's 11 games out of the 5 rounds previously, every single game the support player of Colorado picked a hard engagement tank support. Like we've seen Alistar, we've seen Rel, and we've seen Pantheon. All engagements. There's not a single soft support or enchanters whatsoever.
And hold on a second, things continuing to get spicy in the bot lane as Twitch going to be the lock-in here, but followed up by a Tristana. Now this can mean a couple things. Ordinarily, Twitch might potentially go into the jungle, but with Udyr already locked in, this is maybe indicating a Twitch support, but Tristana also a bit of a flex pick, as it can be seen in the mid lane with a lot of powerful all-in potential, and UW with these first 3 picks of the first phase, maintaining a lot of flex power here. And Link, where do you expect this draft is going to end up with this double marksman composition we're seeing?
If you look at Colorado's previous picks, their mid laner excels in all magic damage champions. And these champions tend to be item dependent, which means their early game is not as powerful as some of the other mid lane champs. So if UW is flexing this Tristana to mid lane while pushing the Twitch to the bot lane, and focus their ganks in the mid lane to ensure the Tristana's getting ahead or at least farming safe, then they will have a very powerful mid game. Like even without Twitch being the one to stand out, the Tristana will answer any obstacle thrown her way.
Yeah, but Colorado School of Mines, seeing that double marksman lock-in, absolutely not hesitating to answer it with the Rammus as the third pick of the red side, and this is going to be pretty potent should the Twitch end up going AD and going in the bot lane like you expect, but of course there is the potential for him to enter that support role and build AP along with the Everfrost that has been recently buffed on this patch and might provide a little bit more utility and a lot more opportunity for him to provide that damage, seeing as the cast time on that snare is a lot faster. But with the bans coming through largely for the top side on UW and taking away the Seraphine from them, looks like Colorado School of Mines going to start off this second phase with the Azir pickup. against what may be a Tristana support, but the third marksman of UW's composition is going to enter the game, and this is so interesting, seeing as Colorado School of Mines have such a bulky core between the Rel and the Rammus, both of who can stack armor with such impunity and with such great synergy with their own kits. But UW really opting into this matchup, having locked in the Caitlyn, and this is going to mean that Twitch is going to go into that AP support role. Gragas in the top lane is going to be met by the Malphite for Colorado School of Mines as yet another full armor stacking tank on this red side team. And Lynk, how do you think this triple marksman team is going to play into the likes of such a tanky frontline?
I mean, as of the moment, I'm a bit speechless because of the triple marksman and the triple armor stacking champions. And honestly, if you're playing against a Malphite and a Rel and a Rammus, the very key factor here is your positioning. Because if the Rammus if the Malphite can even land a double ult on two of the three marksmen, it would pretty much mean like game over, unless they're severely behind. Which means that the item factor becomes very crucial in this whole match. It's basically all focused on how well UW's marksmen can farm to make sure they're not even, but rather ahead of the other team of Colorado.
Right, and even as they continue to farm, though, it's only going to get more difficult for them to play the game unless they can continue to snowball so greatly that the armor stacking on the side of Colorado School of Mines is largely irrelevant. But things like the Rel and like the Malphite, with such long range and such instant, powerful, engaged tools, are going to make it so difficult for things like the Caitlyn or for the Twitch to try to play the game. Pasha on this Tristana a bit more impunity, as he does have the rocket jump, at least for one repositioning tool, but regardless, unstoppable force and the flash engaged from Rel make things so difficult for the backline of UW. But of course, they do have two really powerful peeling tools at their disposal, and that is the Gragas and the Udyr. Gragas with the body slam, and Udyr with that bear slap, continuing to provide really short cooldown crowd control against their opponents. And maybe that's what they're relying on for this composition to function. But against the Rel and against the Malphite, those kinds of short bursty stuns, I don't know how relevant they're going to end up being. But of course, Colorado School of Mines, they've got this kind of armor stacking idea going on, but that might be dismantled by just one member of UW's team, and that is Morona on the Twitch. And even though this is a support pick, it can provide so much damage output if it can get those kills. And even if it doesn't CS, it can get the Mythic going, get that Gnasher's Tooth going, and once it hits that death cap, Twitch is still going to be Twitch regardless of whether he's building AD or AP, and he's still going to be providing so much damage to all members of the opposing team and from such a far distance. And the onus is still on Colorado School of Mines to make that hard engage happen. And it's going to come down to Bombonian and Kowalczyk on the Rel and the Malphite to try to access that backline and break through the likes of Mario Cool 4 and Drago 8 on this tanky frontline unit on UW.
And for all the viewers currently, I don't know how familiar you guys with there's a concept that I would actually introduce to this stream, just so everyone can have an idea of what I'm about to say. So for people who are familiar with math or just maybe modern day combat, just like the more technical and strategy side, there's a law called Lanchester's square law, which is essentially it basically means the total combat capability of a team is based on the square of the total number of members. So let's say you have 3 versus 2. The difference is not really 3 minus 2 equals 1. It's more like 3 squared, which is 9, versus 2 squared, which is 4. It is actually like 3 to 2 is actually greater than what you would expect. And here we are seeing 3 marksmen against 3 tank. The critical factor here is how well the marksman can zone out and isolate those tanks with the help of Gragas and Udyr, of course. So they're constantly outnumbering their opponent, which in return will yield very good results.
It's not just a matter of accessing the backline, but also the engage following up on each other, not wasting the crowd control of which Colorado School of Mines has so much available in their composition, but layering it to make sure that Pasho and Eigenrector and Morona are always dispositioned to never get the chance to play their own game and kite it out like you say, Lynk. But of course, on this Colorado School of Mines composition that we are now seeing in the Fountain, there are two key members to be providing damage between all these tanks, and that's Time and Focus Sashtit on the Azir and on the center. These are two of the most hyper-scaling carries available in both mid and in the AD carry role, and with such a powerful tanky unit providing that front line for them, they're going to have a lot of impunity, but provided that they can layer that engage like we're hoping for. But for the moment in this level 1, no fanning out here. As we can see, UW has spotted it out. There's the 5-man invade happening not late, but it's straight away at 40 seconds. 3 members of Colorado School of Mines committing at least to placing a ward in the opposing red buff, but they are going to give away some space in the top side because of it. You can see Drago8 waiting in the Raptors bush, potentially to see if Lunero makes his way over to that red side. But you can see the cross already. Colorado School of Mines do not care whether UW has the vision of these rotations that's going to make their way straight through, and know that UW doesn't have a lot that they can do about it. And because of that, UW not going to get so much as a ward down in that top side. On the other hand, Colorado School of Mines walking away from this level 1 with the valuable information that Drago8 is going to be starting on that top side. And what do you expect that Lunero is going to try to do with that information, Link?
Well, if both team has a fairly good idea of where the opposing jungler is starting, then the passing... Oh, look at here. Wait,
oh my gosh, Morona with the level 1 cheese. This is what you want to see from the Twitch. The ambush leveled straight away at level 1 is going to force the flash out from Time as he waits in the lane. And not only does Pasho have so much all-in potential between the Ignite and the Hail of Blades, but when there's a Hail of Blades Twitch waiting invisible, Time has got to flash away from that one lest those ticks get off on him. And no summoners extended on the side of UW, but Time in a pretty rough spot, as not only was he forced to use that flash, but was also zoned away from that wave, but only at a meager cost of Eigenrector having to give away a few minions down there in the bot lane. And I love to see this play, but hold on a second. Pasho working for the all-in is going to find it immediately as the rocket jump level 2 immediately knows that there's nothing Time can do without the flash, and goes straight away as soon as the XP hits. Ignite into the rocket jump into the explosive charge, and that is absolutely going to seal his fate. You saw how quickly he blew up there, and that's the power of this Tristana pick. UW really bringing out some new toys here, and they're showing up in spades already at just level 2.
That is the power of Hailblade Tristana. Like, people tend to think that press the attack Tristana would offer more damage, but the thing is, at level 2, before you get your Q with the attack speed bonus, it will actually still take quite a while to fully stack the explosive charge. But Hailblade solves that problem perfectly.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see how a champion like Tristana, who's been in the game for so long, has kind of developed. As Morona going to try to get a few autos off on Focus Sashtit, and win out on that trade thanks to the expunge, and invisibility is just really difficult for Colorado School of Mines to try to play around. And the picks like the support Twitch and like the mid lane Tristana kind of setting them off kilter here in this level 1, but it's going to be a question of whether UW is going to be able to carry that momentum further into this game. For the moment, Eigenrector, even after having to concede a couple minions at that level 1 thanks to his support's cheese, there's going to be a gank in the mid lane though. Hold on a second. Drago8 moving in with the bear slap as Time with a well-placed dash is going to be able to make his way back to the turret, but Rammus in the river is going to continue to be chased down. Malphite's can make his way over, but down here in the bot lane we still have an all-in going on as Morona going to flash right in and try to get the full expunge off the kill. Going to go over to Eigenrector. Morona going down very low, and Qual's going to be able to pick it up with the lance as another kill in the mid lane. Tristana going in with the rocket jump to go right back out, but now Lunero's going down very low, and Mario Cool 4 is here. Both junglers low health bars. Ground pound going to go down. The Buzzsaw taking Drago8 down low, but looks like they're going to go away from that play, and plays happening all across the map as UW coming out on top with about 2 kills, but fortunately for Colorado School of Mines, they are able to get on the board, but not without a 2-0 Tristana in the mid lane, really setting the pace. But Drago8 getting a bit greedy before the back, tries to finish off one last Grom and get himself a bit of extra gold, but it's Grom who sends him into his pocket with an execute. And unfortunately, that's not going to hand over any gold to Colorado School of Mines, but that is a little bit of tempo loss and a bit of mental blow. But Verona going to stop the back of Bomboni into the top lane. The support is all over the map as after going off the back having died to the opposing support is going to continue to ruin the life of the top laner. And in the meantime, Kowalski can focus Sashtet, just setting up a freeze. And this early game is looking super hectic at just 5 minutes into this game.
Yep, we are already seeing 4 kills and teleports, flashes, spells being thrown everywhere, and fights happening from the topside river to the mid lane to the bottom lane. This game will be very explosive.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because when you look at the compositions of both these teams, both of them really not as much trying to play for this early in game, but relying on the scaling power of their picks, things like the Caitlyn and Tristana, even though things like the Tristana have that all-in power, and Caitlyn, a formidable laner herself, they've still got a lot of hyper-scaling power just by merit of being long-ranged AD carries. And Verona, you can see there with that cast, is able to get so much damage down even without a full expunged tick. Just by getting that poison down is causing so much punishment. But Pasho's dash going to be cancelled thanks to Lunero, and he's forced to flash away into Drago 8, who has the Bear Slap to protect his mid laner and keep that shutdown from Colorado's hands. Which, fortunately, nothing going to happen down there, but Mario Cool 4 in the top lane looking for some traits of his own, and both of these guys pretty beefy top laners, but between the Corrupting Potion charges of the Malphite and the stun going down onto Morona, he's going to have his fate sealed here, but not before getting that fully charged Expunge off and setting up Eigenrector potentially for this kill that is going to go his own way. And now Kowalski facing off against Eigenrector himself. It's support on AD carry combat, and for the moment it looks like the Lancer is winning out on it. The Ignite drop, dubstep Ignite, walk away from that one, and Lunero trying to get the steal onto the Mountain Dragon, but going to walk straight into Pasho and Drago 8. The Ignite going to go down, the explosive charge granting the reset on this rocket jump as he tries to predict it, but is just going to use it to reposition himself for that buster shot. But Time using that distance to try to get the flash out. Kowalski still alive and still buying some space for his mid laner, lands the stun, but it's going to be the sacrificial lamb to save the life of his mid laner, but not before handing over the 4th kill into Pasho on this Tristana. It hasn't even crested 7 minutes on this in-game timer, and Pasho looking super terrifying in this early game. And it looks like he wants more, as Time is still down here in this bot lane. The heal's coming through that piercing light, but Pasho trying to thin out that wave and is going to get one last kill, but not before getting shut down. And Lunero finally making his way over to set focus, sash it up for a double kill. And University of Washington getting a bit too big for their britches down there in the bot lane as Drago 8 not having enough health to try to follow up on that play, and it looked like just a 2-man dive, not enough, as the jungler making his way over, hands the shutdown into the AD carry, and where Pasho was really on the rampage before, was looking unstoppable in this game. Suddenly, a lot of gold in the pocket of Colorado, even if they are still a little bit behind.
Oh, and here is a parting
down
gate
here in the bot lane. Kowalski landing the knockoff, gonna get the stun as well as the root goes down. Dawning Shadow, but the heal is forced down, and Kowalski has it as well. But Focus Dash eating a lot of damage between that expunge, but Morona really underestimating the damage between these two, but is going to be able to set up Eigenrector to find the shutdown and come out on top because of it. Fortunately for them, once again, it is going to be traded out support for AD carry, and you've got to question whether it is going to end up being worth it. But regardless, Eigenrector is about 2 waves ahead of his opponent when it comes to CS. But on the other hand, Morona about 1-4. Even if he set up a few kills for his team here and there, he's kind of testing the limits when it comes to this Twitch pick, kind of getting into the thick of it when he is just rocking the Berserker's Greaves, and the Amplifying Tome does not have the tankiness he needs to stand in the face of the likes of the Rel and fight it out, and he's getting punished because of it.
We're seeing both teams members all gathering in mid lane.
Down here in the mid lane, Pasho has to use the rocket jump to reposition, but here's Morona joining the battle once again. Pasho going down very low, but Morona not find that last kill for it. Now Grog is joining the battle, trying to secure the kill onto the mid lane, but he makes his way under the turret. It looks like he's going to be able to walk away from this one. Just 1 kill picked up for the University of Washington, but that is going to be yet another for Pasho. As Mario Cool 4 with the flash body slam is going to find it onto Kowalski. Morona with the damage once again. Berserker's Greaves is all you need, and death mean nothing if you're able to provide that damage. Now Focus Sashtet is in a bad spot down here, all by his lonesome in the turret, but there is no way for University of Washington to try to find this dive quite just yet. But it looks like they're going for it anyway, as the root is going to land onto Morona, and Drago 8 trying to take it up for his support, but he's going to go down instead, and Morona not even so much as bringing Focus Sashtet down to half HP. In the meantime, University of Washington really with some missteps that are only going to continue to snowball as Eigenrector caught in a bad spot. Time, the Emperor of the Sands, going to finish him off with one last slash, and now Colorado find themselves only 2 kills down, but still about 2,000 gold behind. This is a really chaotic early game that University of Washington in this Brawl Fest is still continuing to come out on top of.
Yeah, this is pretty much the... I think so far this is the most action-packed game we've seen, like the University of Washington has ever played. We are seeing essentially almost 2 kills per every minute. And check this out, it's actually almost even on both sides. It's 10-8 instead of a one-sided, more like instead of one-sided massacre. And this kind of action just keep adding up more uncertainty to the mid game and late game as well. Since the Senate has been picking up the shutdown goals and the double kills, like when the University of Washington was trying to dive her, like under her own turret. But at the same time, we're also seeing a 6-1 Tristana played by Pasho in the mid lane.
Yeah, this uncertainty in the early game really throwing things into question. That's only going to continue into the mid game, as where we thought there was going to be this kind of solidified course of the team fights, this hard engage on the side of Colorado really coming into onto the back line of University of Washington. Suddenly, things really seeming like they could go either way, but as you said, Pasho looking so strong in the mid lane, the rocket jump straight in, but there's the Emperor's Divide to send a Pasho under the turret. He gets the reset on the rocket jump, and it looks like he's got a bit too far. Shutdown going to go the way of time under a solo kill initiated by his opponent. Looks like he underestimated how far that Emperor's Divide would take him, and he gets punished for it, even despite that rocket jump. And Time, blocking just the Seeker's Arm Guard and a couple amplifying tomes, is able to make it happen against the 6-1 Tristana, who fortunately hadn't backed for what looks like the Gale Force quite just yet, but I imagine is going to be able to make that pickup happen soon. But the uncertainty is just continuing to pile up, Lynk. Like, 6-1 Tristana in the mid lane. The question wasn't just about how the lane was going to go, but about whether Pasho was going to be able to exert that pressure on the other parts of the map. But suddenly, even that solo kill pressure now thrown into question, as Time putting himself in a pretty good spot, and now even finding himself about a wave ahead there in the mid lane.
Yep, and we'll be seeing that both teams are gathering up near the dragon. This will be the first dragon, which is Inferno.
Yeah, both top laners still up there, but the teleport advantage is the way of Bombonian. Looks like because of that, it is going to go over to Colorado School of Mines, and unfortunately they weren't able to pick up the Mountain Dragon earlier in this game that I imagine their composition would have so appreciated. But now they're probably going to go down as Dragway lands the Bear Slap, and he's going to get locked up. Here's the Magnet Storm from the Realm to lock up everybody for the Dawning Shadow. Pasho's going to go down first, and now Dragway all by himself with no mana, but he has the Bear available. Senna going to pick up yet another kill onto the support, and the Shifting Sands going to secure another one for Colorado School of Mines, excuse me. That's going to be a 3-0 after the Infernal Dragon has already been taken, and University of Washington thinking they can force something after the objective, but even if that one gone in their favor, doesn't seem like they would have got much out of it, and having picked that bad fight, they're going to set themselves in a really bad spot, I think. Suddenly, they've lost that gold advantage they've worked so hard to muster, and suddenly, Colorado School of Mines is sporting a 7-3 Senna with not just the Kraken Slayer, but well on her way to whatever other item she decides to opt for next.
It would likely be a Rage Blade.
Yeah, but gonna have to be delayed for just a little bit, as Morona continuing to be a thorn in the side of Colorado, but not one that's pulled out for much longer as Focus sashed it. Gonna go in straight in off for that 1v1 and come out handily on top, and even though it goes down a little low, he's gonna pick himself up his 8th kill of the game. 23 at just 13 minutes all across the board, but the full Rage Blade has been picked up by the Senna. It is just 13 minutes and 50 seconds into this game, on his way to the tier 2 boots as well. This is perhaps the single strongest Senna we've seen, probably not only in CLoL, but maybe ever.
Yeah. And now the question, and now the focus of both teams actually shifted. Like, instead of worrying about the 3 marksmen versus the 3 tank, we're actually going to be more like, I mean, the team fight will be leaning more towards protect the Tristana versus protect the Senna at the moment, or maybe in like the next 10 minutes or so. And then eventually Azir as a ticking bomb will come online. And then
yeah, but he's going to try to come online right now with the Emperor's Divide, but it's going to whiff. But Pasho there waiting in the wing, try to shut him down. He's able to get it before his AD carry goes down, but in the top side, Colorado going to try to answer back that play, but the body slam going to dissuade the rolling from happening, and Bomboni not going to try to follow up with the unstoppable force. Fortunately for University of Washington, they're able to answer back and get the gold lead back in their favor thanks to some well positioning from Pasho. But as you mentioned, suddenly the dynamic has totally shifted. Pasho yet another kill going into his pocket, but on the other hand, Focus Sashed it looking even stronger than he is. Pasho hasn't even picked up his own mythic yet, but in the mid lane, Morona landed the cast, gonna get the slowdown, and the bear slap goes down onto Focus Sashed. He's going down very low. Morona has the damage to get the shutdown onto the AD carry. That's that key target, and with another kill going his way as well. 4 kills on the support Twitch, and some good ganking happening in the mid lane to catch Focus Sashed, who strayed a bit too far forward in that mid lane turret with just his support to protect him. And if this game is a question of who can protect their main AD carry better, then suddenly it seems like University of Washington is doing it better not only at protecting theirs, but enabling Pasho to be in that carry position. But on the other hand, knowing that 2 members of his team were up in that top side looking for the play against the Gragas, Focus Sashed wanted a bit too far forward there, and he's going to get punished for it. Handing over so much gold into the pocket of the AP Twitch, who now has that Nashor's Tooth available to him. That is such a big power spike for this pick, providing everything that the Twitch is looking for. On-hit damage between the AP and the attack speed, and if you thought Morona was looking deadly on this pick before, things are going to get a whole lot worse for Colorado. But Link, like you mentioned, in this kind of game dynamic that we've got going on, where it's a question of whether these teams can keep their marksmen in check, there's 2 things that I want to consider with respect to it. One, you mentioned that square law earlier in this game, the power of 2 versus the power of 3, and when you look at the front lines on each team, it's University of Washington who have 2 tanks available to them, the Grogs and the Udyr, versus the 3 on the side of University, or no, not of University, excuse me, of Colorado School of Mines. Because of that, I wonder whether it's going to be Colorado coming out on top just by merit of how many more appealing tools they have available to them. But on the other hand, it's the power of 2 versus 1, as Morona suddenly starting to come online in this game. Now has the bounty on his side, and is even going to pick up the red buff there. Suddenly 2 carries that University of Washington have at their disposal, whereas so far it seems like Focus Sashed is the main damage source in time, just providing some utility. But I'm going to have to hold on, I'll talk about that for a little bit, as Dragonway going to run straight at the Senna, who puts down the Dawning Shadow, and Kowalski is in the thick of it alongside Lunaro, who's getting the taunt and getting the shutdown onto the support Twitch, and is not going down. The health bar is not dropping, and Dragonway in the thick of it, in the pit, is going to take up 3 members and go down eventually, as this Ocean Dragon is getting beat down, and Mario Cool 4, it's got to be the engage they lead if they want to try to steal this one away, but it doesn't seem like they want to do it, as they are smite down, and Colorado School of Mines not even going to try to pull this one away, are going to secure their 2nd dragon of the game and get themselves rolling on the Ocean Soul this game. That is going to make these fights so much harder for the University of Washington to deal with. But Dragonway, some really missed positioning there. It seems like he thinks his role is to just run straight at Focus Sashed it, isolate him, and get the stun down, but Lunaro's got a similar idea as he's going straight in with the rolling ball onto Pasho, who flashes in for the kill onto the opposing support, but the unstoppable force finding both members of the ball lane. Focus Sashed is not only going to get the shutdown, but it's going to protect the life of Bombonia with a really well-placed Malphite ult to set up 2 kills following up on that Dragon take. And now suddenly Colorado School of Mines, even though they're about 700 gold down, really setting themselves up for success in this mid game.
And now, as we can see here, Malphite already got Sunfire Aegis, Steel Cap, and a Bramble Vest.
Time. Shifting stands into the opposing turret. No wave left. I guess he knew his fate was sealed, having spotted the Udyr coming down from that bot side jungle. But fortunately, I suppose he is able to get Mario Cool's flash out because of it. Question of whether that was worth expending, seeing as he was all by himself under that turret. It seemed like Mario Cool 4 just wanted to secure the kill as opposed to the execute, but he also had the ultimate. Questionable play, I think, on both sides, but now Kowalski going to try to answer back with some play onto Aiken Rector. No unstoppable force, but it's not even going to be necessary. Look how strong this Senna is at the stage in the game. The seal now available to her, and if you're not sure why this build is working, you're thinking to yourself, why build all this attack speed? Why build the Kraken Slayer if Senna doesn't attack that fast to begin with? It's because her passive allows her to scale with this crit chance that is going to be generated by the Ginsu's Rage Blade. And now as Dragonway gets tossed back in, thanks to Rel's Lance, Focus Sasha is going to find himself with yet another kill before 20 minutes has even happened, and Dragaway really finding himself in some stray spots in this game, and at 0 kills and 5 deaths, he's going to be kind of relegating himself to a stun by even more so than the champ already does. But down here in the bot lane, Time with the Emperor's Divide is going to get sent back into the Gragas with the explosive cask, and as Time sends up the turret, Dawning Shadow going to keep him alive, and Mario Cool 4 with no flash is going to have to walk away from this one. It's fortunately tanky enough for the Azir not to be able to find the play. But speaking of plays, here's one from the Ram. It says Lunero able to find the taunt through the invisibility onto Verona, and kills continuing to pour in all across the map. Colorado School of Mines now finding themselves 5 kills ahead over their opponents, but here's a question for you. Why are they still about 1,000 gold down? Maybe they're going to try to answer that back as the Magnet Storm goes down onto Pasho, and every kill goes down in an instant. Blink and you'll miss it, and you'll miss Pasho being handed over to Focus Sashtit. As now the second Rift Herald goes down into the mid lane. It's going to find that second charge. He has double force, finds his mark onto Aiken, who's forced to flash away, and Lunero looking for the taunt. He's not going to be able to find it as Mario Cool 4 is here to stop him. Dragaway going in with that Turbo Chem Tank is going to get rooted up and locked up and finished off once again by Focus Sashtit. Every kill going where it needs to. If there's one man you want to funnel gold into, it is the Senna.
Yep.
Fortunately for Colorado School of Mines, everything is going according to plan. Is now the tides have turned where it was once a tie, once a disadvantage. Now they are handily 2,000 gold ahead over the University of Washington, where it seems like all across the map, everything is falling apart for the home team.
Mm-hmm. And if we go back to the square load that you also mentioned previously, and we focus on Senna's positioning, she always have at least 2 members by her side, which is usually the Rammus and the Malphite, or sometimes the Rail, depending on where Rammus is. And if they keep their total team power at 3, which if you put a square on it, it's a 9, then it will actually not be ideal for the University of Washington to engage them with 2 members, or maybe 3 if you engage in a slight with a slight difference in time interval. If you have 1 member goes in and then another, you will always be doing 1v3, 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 or 2v3. Which, given the damage capacity of the Senna at the moment, it's not gonna look good.
Yeah, hold on a second.
And here we are.
Bashed it. Had have to flash away from that rocket jump, but the knockout going to go down. Magnet Storm going to find Pasha, but not before Dragaway takes shut down onto the Senna. Verona taunted up for quite a while, but Mario Cool there to peel. Time with the Emperor's Divide, going to send 2 into the turret. And fortunately, he's able to pick up the AD carry, but the health bars on the side of University of Washington going very low, but so is Times, as the poison almost going to find him. He has the stopwatch to keep himself alive at the base of Mario Cool 4 is looking for the last kill. Bomboni able to pick up the Tristana, but not before. Mario Cool 4 is able to even things out at 4-4, and now it's a battle of the tanks as there's 1v1 left in the Hunger Games. But neither of them with any kill pressure left, and they're just going to dance it out in this mid lane wave as Mario Cool 4 brings down the belly, and Bombonian answering in turn, and a big team fight for the University of Washington, who found themselves at a deficit and are going to find a few shutdowns here and there. Importantly, Dragaway finding the one onto Focus Sashtit, but this 1-7 Udyr, maybe this isn't where you want that goal to be handed over, but a shutdown is a shutdown. But is it going to be enough for University of Washington is the question, as they're still 2,000 gold behind their opponents. And suddenly, not only is there the Senna to worry about, but a big Malphite 5-0-5 in this game who isn't even eating as many resources as you might expect from the solo laners, but it's still looking so deadly. As a result, the Dragaway trying to worm his way into the river is going to find himself getting knocked up and getting lanced, and Dragaway finding the stun as Pasha goes straight in onto Focus Sashtit to look for it. Alright, really the damage and the explosive charge finds the AD carry just like that. Qualter going down very low in the face of the poison. Aiken Rector sitting pretty in the back line is able to pick himself another kill, but Time doing the same as he goes straight in with the Emperor's Divide and one-shots the Twitch before he goes down himself. Aiken Rector not getting touched at all in these fights. He's starting to come online himself, and Lunero's the only one stranded from the Colorado side as Dragaway in the midst of the taunt is able to slide away the Scuttle Crab and secure the ace for the University of Washington and even things up in the Dragon department. University of Washington, where it seemed like so many straggle kills are being handed over, so many important sources of gold going into Focus Sashtit. Now when they bring things into this 5v5 team fight, things are suddenly going their way with such important positioning from Eigenrector on that Caitlyn. He didn't even seem to get any attention from Colorado, who were focusing not only on the Tristana but on the Twitch, and by their time they expended so many resources, Eigenrector had practically killed everyone, and now as the carries start to come online, the dynamics of this game continue to shift, Link.
And currently, University of Washington just figured out their answer. If you only have 2 carries, and I have 3, and I trade one for one, then it's still worth it because I have 2 carries left while you have only the Azir. And it seems like currently making Tristana sacrifice herself for the Senna, like as we see in the previous team fight, that became like I guess the most optimal solution for now. Because if you have a Tristana diving into the Senna, and the Malphite, who also didn't have his ultimate back then. Oh wait, let's look here.
Yep, drag away, bear slap onto Kowalczyk, but that's not his real target. The Magnus here at bay before members join the battle. Fortunately, a focused Sash is able to keep himself alive, but here's the rocket jump once again in time with the Emperor's Divide. Probably wasn't even necessary, but it is going to turn things into a 1-for-1, into a 2-for-1. Shut down onto the opposing switches. The stopwatch keeps time alive, but Mario Cool 4 joining the battle with that turbo, can't take his time. Knowing his time is up, is going to try to make one more kill happen before the explosive cast takes him out in a 2-for-4 situation initially. Colorado School of Mines able to convert it into a 3-for-4, and even though Mario Cool 4 able to secure an important shutdown, we call going to be stopped at least by Lunero. He's made his way over as the Rams with the Thorn Mail, and he's got the Tremors as well, but not a lot of damage between these two tanks. Kind of a wet noodle fight if you ask me, but that's not going to dissuade Lunero from keeping the damage up because Malphite is in the mid lane bearing down that inhibitor turret. Even if he doesn't find the full thing, that is still some important damage and some important progress as we head into this mid game. Whoever can get that inhibitor first is going to open up so much more space for these neutral objectives, but as things kind of starting to even out in this gold department, the fights really seem like it could go anyone's way, and it's all going to be a matter of positioning as we anticipated. And now maybe Dragaway looking for the play onto Bombonian, but I mentioned this kind of answer link that University of Washington had cooked up is Corona maybe find a little bit of damage. Kowalczyk trying to answer back with the knockdown, but he's going to run straight into a body slam and just hand over a kill, it seems, to University of Washington as the jungle's in the 1v1 down here in the river. Ram is trying to roll his way on out and bait Dragaway into the hands of Focus Sash in time, but do they have the damage? Do they have the damage? Focus Sash, they're going to go down in the face of the support Switch, who has a death cap available to him. Jungler goes down, but that is totally worth it, I imagine, for the University of Washington, picking up not only that main carry of the opposing team, but the support to boot, and even if there aren't any objectives available, they are at least going to find this mid lane turret and maybe find even more, as there are only two tanky members, excuse me, and time on this Azir left alive to defend. Fortunately, going to limit things to just the second tier mid lane turret, but University of Washington starting to bring things back into their favor, and Dragaway, even if he's about 9 kills down, is still Udyr, and he's still super fast and super tanky, and he's still got the bear slap.
And he still does have the 2k gold lead on the opposing jungler.
Yep, and just by merit of how fast he's able to farm, he's got himself an entire item over his opponent practically, but Lunero gonna start up this Baron Nashor anyway, knowing that he has the Azir hitting the Baron over the... Looks like University of Washington late to the play as both members of the bot lane still down there. The top side making their way over, but it's all but Rin. The Baron Nashor going to be picked up, handily snuck away by Colorado School of Mines, and an explosive cast just to stick their tongue out. University of Washington now playing a Baron down, and where these team fights were looking so even but ever slightly in their favor, Dragaway going to get tossed in thanks to the Emperor's Divide, but he has so much movement speed but not so much to get away from the unstoppable force as Colorado School of Mines maybe trying to keep up the chase. Kowalczyk coming down with the crash down, but it seems like they're just trying to set themselves up for this Ocean Dragon in about 30 seconds as Kowalczyk gets the stun, gets the knockback, gets the slows onto Mario Cool 4, but he's a very tanky customer. And a lot of damage as Dying Shadow tries to finish him off, but Akermark catching the brunt of it. Both of them able to walk away from this one, but still gonna have to cede away this third Ocean Dragon and allow Colorado School of Mines to bring themselves to Soul Point. In this game, there have been 64 kills, not even 30 minutes into this game so far. Things are looking almost neck and neck in the gold department, even in the face of a big Baron power play on the side of Colorado School of Mines, converting into that third Ocean Dragon. But as dicey as things seem, I don't think University of Washington are even counting themselves out quite just yet. In fact, I think all they're counting on is just one more team fight to get themselves back into this game link.
Yeah, and the dynamic of the game once again shifts. Now, if you look at the team comp, we have a 2 tank 3 backline versus 3 tank 2 backline, and generally, the relative minority role on each team actually now becomes the most important part of the team fight. Like if the University of Washington loses one of their tanks, they're losing half of their tank essentially. But if they only lose one carry, there's only 1/3 of their damage output. And it seems are the opposite for the Colorado School of Mines. If they lose, okay, wait.
Hold on a second. Focus. Sasset blown up by the AP Twitch. Walton tries to find the Magnet Storm, but to no avail as University of Washington. Verona free hitting practically is able to get his 3rd kill of the fight. The ace of the hole going to secure a 4th, and University of Washington spotting Colorado School of Mines walking a bit too far into their own base, are able to turn things around on the engage where the Magnet Storm seemed like it was trying to create that feel, but where there are 3 carries available on the side of University of Washington, Colorado School of Mines seemed like they had to spread their resources thin, and because of it, it was Morona who turned things around with the Riftmaker, the Rabadon, the Nashor's Tooth, all available and all coming online in that big fight for himself, picking up the triple kill and securing 4 kills for the University of Washington. And maybe we might be looking at a game end here, but with the death timers coming back off, it seems like it's just going to be an inhibitor, but an important play nonetheless for University of Washington, and showing that all they need is just one marksman in the right spot at the right time to completely turn things around on their opponents.
Let me just finish the part earlier. So currently, things are the opposite for Colorado School of Mines. They need to protect their carries at all costs. Because if they lose one carry, like we saw in the previous fight, they lost Senna very early in the team fight. They're not going to survive the following skirmish and, I guess, extended or bursty fights. And things are the opposite for the University of Washington because they need the tanks to peel for their backline. So now, once again, the University of Washington needs to make sure their tanks don't get caught out and die too early during the team fight. While for the Colorado School of Mines, they need to peel for their backline at all costs.
Yeah, it's such an interesting question of how the front line of Mines has to play this game out, but Lunero going to lead things off with the engage and the taunt onto the knockup onto... So tanky that he's not going down against Bubble Force. Finds its mark onto Morona. Is going to use his stun launch to keep himself alive and buy enough time for the Rams to go down. But in the backline, Mario Pool 4 going down very low instead. Gargoyle Stoneblade going to take him very low, but keep himself alive in the meantime. Drago 8 and Grog is still alive in this game as the shutdown goes down onto the Twitch, but at the cost of the center's life. And Aikenrector still full HP, going to answer back the kill onto the opposing support. Drago 8 is still alive in this game, but so is time as he goes back in with the shifting sand. Gonna get those pokes down, but not enough damage. Drago away so fast and so tanky, and instead, time gonna turn its attention onto Aikenrector, but Pasho going back in with the rocket jump, but not enough damage left on Colorado School of Mines. The ground pound is at least going to find Pasho's mark, but going to go down instead at a 2-for-5 ace in favor of the University of Washington. Not only gonna bring things to a 3,000 gold lead, but potentially finish this game out as they have 2 super minions available in this mid lane. All they might need is just 180 carry as Drago 8 bringing the way from the top lane. Lunero is alive to try to keep things at bay, and the Aikenrector has to respect that as he is going to walk away. Game not going to end quite just yet for University of Washington, but once again, such a huge team fight. And Colorado School of Mines struggling not only to break through the front line of the University of Washington, which again is one less than theirs, but also can hardly find their mark onto the key members of the University of Washington's composition that they were trying so hard to dive onto.
Yep, and the upcoming Dragon fight will actually be the deciding moment for this whole game. It's first of all a soul point, and also with 33 minutes into the game and many deaths on both teams' members, their death timer will actually be long enough for the other team to close the game.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to this Colorado School of Mines taking everything they have. Pots are coming down, and if they can get this, it's going to mean an Ocean Soul. They have to bring together everything they've learned from these past few fights, try to cover up their mistakes, try to reassess their positioning. Drago 8 can run up for that bear slap as Mario Pool 4 finds the flank, but isn't able to land the body slam. The slow is going to land on the time, but it's going to hand over a shutdown. There's that big frontliner of the University of Washington getting delivered straight into the hands of their opponents, and practically delivering this Ocean Soul as well as Drago 8 has to stake everything on this Soul Steal, but not going to happen as the Ocean Soul is now in the hands of the red team. And Agen Rector trying to make it happen is going to get a shutdown over to the mid laner. Time picking up a shutdown for himself as Drago 8 is tanky, but not tanky enough to resist the unstoppable force. 3 members going down on the side of the University of Washington and not one health bar dropping on Colorado's School of Mines. And while they aren't able to convert so much on their side, turret going to be picked up by Pasho. In the meantime, Ocean Soul has been handed over for Colorado School of Mines, and suddenly University of Washington, these fights really seem like they're balanced on a razor's edge, but this big permanent buff tipping things so heavily in Colorado School of Mines' favor is only going to get worse, as now the Baron Nash are going to go uncontested the way of the red team. Pasho, in the meantime, can hardly find damage onto Bombonian, who's slapping him up with that Thunderclap, but Pasho going to be able to disengage thanks to the Thunderclap, or thanks to the Buster Shot, as the taunt going to connect. Maybe not the roll, but that's all they need. The knockdown goes down, and look how long that crowd is going to last. The Tristana going down, 53-second death timer. And with the Baron buff available to them, this is going to mean so much for Colorado School of Mines, as they're going to be bearing down straight down the mid lane. They don't need super minions. All they need are the Baron buff and this Ocean Soul. If they spot it, they are going to force it. One more fight is all they need to finish this game off, and they know as the Flash Magnet Storm comes through. Verona going to dodge out on it thanks to the ambush movement speed, but it's going to be able to dodge out from this. Stopwatch going to delay the inevitable. Sunero finds the top, finds the kill, hands it over to Focus Sash, who's going on 20 this game. 19 kills to his name, and with 2 key members dead, University of Washington have to mount a miracle-based defense if they want to keep themselves in this game.
Udyr's backdoor.
Udyr, the backdoor, is only going to find an inhibitor, not even as he has to go for the recall. The flash from Bombonian is going to try to find the unstoppable force, but it's going to be forced to dodge away instead. And with the game being blown out, it seems like with that one last push, Colorado School of Mines going to be able to call this game one for themselves and bring this series to an advantage in such a long and hard-fought game that at all stages seemed like it could go anyway.
Mm-hmm. What a bloodfest.
Bloodfest is one way to think about it, Lynk, but at the same time, throughout this whole game, I think there was the kind of chess match going on between these two teams of how they wanted to play these fights. You could see the kind of evolution of the positioning going on between these two teams with these two kind of main units that they had available to them. Both of them could be very well divided into a front line and a back line, and both of them had to maneuver them throughout the games to decide where they wanted to best allocate their resources to make sure that the team fight ended out in their favor. And throughout this game, it seemed like there was initially University of Washington bringing the advantage for themselves, but with a few key picks and some important use of those tools, of those long-range engages they have available to them, Colorado School of Mines turning it around in that mid-game. But then University of Washington, with their own adjustments, recognizing that, like you said, if they can sacrifice just one of their 3 carries for one of the 2 carries on the opposing team, send that Tristana in with the rocket jump with the explosive charge and one-shot her before she gets a chance to act, then suddenly the fight completely turns around in their favor, and where they were able to pick up some big aces because of that adjustment, all kind of amounted to was an inhibitor here and there, but where it really came together for Colorado School of Mines was in that last fight for the Ocean Soul, where it seemed like University of Washington trying to jump the gun with a big flank from the Gragas, but not only was he not able to connect the body slam, but also the rest of the team not there to follow up, and University of Washington, the fight really falling apart for them. All that coordination they worked so hard to bring together, breaking apart in that last fight, and it cost them dearly in that last game.
Yep, this again is the same issue we actually saw last week in the University of Washington's game versus the UC Irvine, which is a disconnection between the front line and the back line. Like if you try to recall the last Ocean Soul contest, Udyr, Drago Age tried to charge in, but retreat eventually because like it's just not gonna work. And then Mario just appeared out of nowhere with teleport behind the whole team of Colorado and just charged into a 1v5 situation, if technically. And then if you apply the square law, it's 25-1.
Yeah, you always have to consider that even when you can find those big plays, Mario Cool 4, he thought he had his moment with a huge teleport plank that could potentially convert into a 5-man explosive cast, not only completely decimating the battle lines that Colorado School of Mines had drawn for themselves so carefully, but also delivering the key carries into his own team. But when they aren't ready to follow up on that engage, it completely falls apart. And like you said, Drago 8 getting a bit ballsy there with the Udyr pick, thinking he could just run straight into the river and start to win back some space all by himself. But when the rest of the team isn't there to follow up, then it really kind of amounts to nothing, and all it amounts to is that health loss and another frontline that can't follow up on that engage from the Gragas with that teleport flank. And after that, University of Washington just seemed to crumble as Caitlyn dying in the pit, Pasha making his way over to the bot lane in the meantime, and that was where it really kind of sealed the game for them. But throughout that game, both teams with really big bright spots, I think, and University of Washington as well, able to secure themselves some big team fights.
Yep. It's all about picking off the right member of the opposing team. And as we've seen, like we've suddenly, like during the mid game, we've suddenly saw a shift in the focus of Colorado School of Mines. Like their damage output, they're suddenly focusing on Drago 8 or a Mario Cool 4, because they realized if they can take down even one of the, maybe not even take down, but maybe force one tank of University of Washington to recall because they're so low on the health, they will have a very good window of opportunities in the next 30 seconds, or maybe as long as the death timer goes.
Yeah, that was the key for Colorado School of Mines, and it ended up bringing them to the 1-0 in this best of 3 series. But we are going to be headed into the draft for game 2, as now it's going to be Colorado School of Mines on the blue side, and they're going to lead things off with a Thresh ban that I don't think we saw in game 1, but going to respect Morona either way. He tried to show up big on that carry Twitch pick, and while he had a lot of deaths handed over, he had a lot of kills as well, and was pivotal to almost bringing University of Washington back into that game and securing it for themselves. As on the other hand, University of Washington with the Master Yi ban we talked about showed up big for Colorado School of Mines last week, and I'm interested to see if either of these teams feel like there were any problematic units on either of the compositions. And for University of Washington, at least, I think you've got to take away the rel from Kowalczyk. That was so powerful. It looks like the first adjustment they're going to be making in this ban phase is going to be bringing away times Azir. And while he kind of took a back seat as far as the damage department goes to the Senna, he was still so pivotal in all those plays, not only in mitigating the lead that Tristana had generated for herself, but bringing up some big Emperor's Divides to really mess up those battle lines. And there it is, the rel ban for University of Washington. Two of the key members for the Colorado School of Mines composition going to be drawn away from them. Now it's going to be Mines with the first pick, having followed up the Skarner ban.
And there's a Senna.
Again, Focus sashed it on the Senna. He nearly dropped a 20 bomb in that last game. Absolutely doing so much damage, even when University of Washington was focusing their every last effort into bringing him out of the game, whether it was the Udyr with the bear slap, Pasha with the rocket jump. It just wasn't enough to stop the Senna from putting that damage output out. But maybe it's going to be a different game if the front line isn't as powerful as it used to, thanks to the rel being limited. But there's the Udyr for Drago 8 once again. He's not going to be shaken by a bit of a shaky early game that he had in that first game, where he did hand over quite a few deaths. He was still always generating a farm advantage. Feels like he can really generate a lot of power for his team just by merit of how tanky and how much crowd control he's able to provide. But I think he's going to have to reassess the positioning, not just the positioning, but how he decides to conduct himself as the main engage tool for the University of Washington in this game. The Seraphine is going to be the pick in the second phase of the red side for University of Washington.
And it's a highly flexible pick. We've seen Seraphine mid, and bot lane, and also as a support. So we'll see how the rest of University of Washington's roster go, and we will be seeing a Hecarim on the School of Mines side, likely and locked in.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting deviation from the game plan they had in Game 1. Hecarim, even if he is a very sizable frontliner, isn't providing as much peel tools as something like the Rammus or like the Malphite, but what he is providing is a surefire way to access the Seraphine on the side of the University of Washington, no matter where it ends up going. But if the Maokai gets hovered instead, this is going to be the beginnings of that frontline core for Colorado School of Mines, as the Maokai potentially going to be paired with the Senna, who I imagine is going to be taking the backseat, not picking up the CS for herself, but taking the starving playstyle instead, where she's going to be conceding the CS for her support, in quotation marks. Instead, the Maokai, she's going to be relying on the increased soul generation available to her, and that's going to be where she's generating her gold instead, as a safe pick in the top lane for Mario Cool 4. The Gnar going to be locked in, not so much as an answer to anything that that Colorado School of Mines has available to them, but just to set themselves up for further counter picks in this next phase, and continuing to adjust to the composition that Colorado School of Mines had to them. 3 of the 5 members of that last team composition already taken out as the Malphite, going to be banned away for University of Washington. It seems like they had no real way in that last phase of the chess match to decide how to deal with the adjustments to how tanky those members of the team had become, and because of that, gotta ban them away. And instead, Colorado School of Mines have the space they need to ban away some power picks instead, things like the Kaisa. Let's see if the last pick available is going to be banned away, but it is going to be the Zoe instead. Is this the kind of pick that you've seen time pick up in some of the recent matches for Colorado School of Mines, Lynk?
Actually not. Like, the previous mid lane picks for Colorado School of Mine are, I mean, yes, they're magic damage dealers, but none of them are Zoe. We've seen Cassiopeia, Katarina, Oriana, Vigar, and Seraphine, 2 games of Seraphine, but we've never seen a Zoe. But still, maybe on the match history of time, there might be a Zoe showing up.
Now look at this. Lulu going to be picked up to pair with the Seraphine. That's going to be going in the mid lane or flexed with the Seraphine, I can imagine. But regardless of where it goes, it's setting University of Washington up for this kind of protect the blank composition, going to be decided by this very last pick of theirs that they've reserved, making sure that whatever AD carry they decide to buff up is going to be best positioned for it. But on the other hand, Colorado School of Mines opting fully into this front line once again. If it's not a Malphite, it's an Ornn. And hold on a second. Zed maybe going to be hovered here. These are some really interesting picks here that time is hovering. Right? Zed into the Azir, or Zed into the Ahri, into the Rise, excuse me. Some really unconventional stuff to try to round out this composition. It is going to be the Rise to provide, once again, a scaling AP threat on the mid lane, and that's going to be the key member for the University of Washington. It's going to be not only a Kog'Maw Lulu, but a Kog'Maw Lulu Seraphine, and with Udyr and Gnar to peel for him. And now, Lynk, we've got such clear game plans on each side, and let's try to break them down.
Yeah, I mean, the stake of each team is very simple: protect the bot laner at all cost. We've seen Focus Sash like Senna's performance from last game, very phenomenal, and we know judging by the team comp of the University of Washington, that Kog'Maw is going to be at least 30 or 40% of the team's whole damage, or maybe even 50 in some cases.
Yeah, and when there are 5 members of the team, that's a pretty far cry from the 20% that he theoretically represent, right?
Yeah, but with like Lulu and Seraphine on the team, you wouldn't be expecting too much damage from them, especially if you're going to be playing around the Kog'Maw. And to be honest, Draco 8's Udyr pick, like, in terms of appealing, it's actually they're actually like far better picks. But again, Udyr has his own advantage, like it has one of the best clear in the whole game. And with the recent buff and maybe some nerfs, he's still very highly viable. And also Draco 8 himself is also Udyr enthusiast. So there's also the factor of champion mastery going on.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the game turns out.
Right, and I think University of Washington's composition, it seems kind of high risk, high reward to me as, like you said, Kog'Maw, we're going to be pivoting on maybe 50% damage output of this entire team, because when you look at the rest of this composition, Lulu and Seraphine, even as they can kind of play towards that AP side of their kits, they're just going to be there to provide Moonstone Renewer buffs, those heals, those buffs, things like the Staff of Flowing Water, like the Ardent Sensor. That's what they're going to be pouring into this Kog'Maw. They're not going to be taking that damage roll. And on the other hand, in this top side, Udyr, full tank, going to be providing a really annoying, really fast frontliner that's going to be providing the bear slap all across the board, and Gnar as well. When you see the kind of builds that Gnars have optimized for in competitive games as of late, it's kind of stride breaker into full tank. And what that means for University of Washington is that you have 4 members all fully devoting themselves to one man, Eigenrector, on the Kog'Maw. And while he was showing up on the Caitlyn in the later stages of the game in that last game 1, the question is he going to be able to carry the weight not only of 2 members, of 3 members, but of every single member of this team? Is he going to be the damage threat to tear apart the entire composition of Colorado School of Mines? And on the other hand, is he going to be able to play into the composition of their team? As you can see, a lot of hard engage available from Colorado School of Mines. So much simple execution as well. The Onslaught of Shadows, the Call of the Forge God. These are those kinds of tools that not only have the ability to access that backline, but are so straightforward to execute in conjunction. Hecarim going to find his way straight in there with the Devastating Charge. The Onslaught of Shadows going to be isolating the Kog'Maw from the rest of the team as the University of Washington tries to keep him alive. And it's going to be a question of not only whether University of Washington is going to be using those 4 members, leveraging all those peeling tools they have available to them to keep the Kog'Maw alive, but also a question of whether the composition of Colorado School of Mines is going to be able to follow up on that engage. As you can see, things like the Senna and like the Rise, even though they're really powerful hyperscaling threats, aren't so much designed to access the Kog'Maw in the backline. Let's hold on a second. I'm gonna have to take a break to let my cat out.
All right. So once again, this game will be loading, and also, dear viewers, let me just point this one thing out. The right pick, despite time hovering over Zed and Ori, the right pick actually has its own uniqueness. Because if you look at Hecarim or Ornn or Maokai, Hecarim's only way to access the backline efficiently is basically his ult, the Onslaught. And then for Ornn and Maokai, for them to access the backline of the University of Washington, they have to either play really well on the vision and the flank, or they can figure out a way to teleport. If only there's an ability that magically teleports your unit to a fixed location. And
and I can think of one that fits the bill, Link, that Realm Warp from Time. But the question is it going to be good enough to provide that flanking tool that they need to find the Kog'Maw? I don't know whether University of Washington is going to be able to let that happen. But of course, in the later stages of the game, it is a very long range. But of course, also tipping off the opposing team to where it is going to spawn. And because of that, I think Colorado School of Mines, they've got to get a bit crafty when it comes to finding the Kog'Maw and taking him out with things like the Senna and like the Rise. And Senna, long range carry, Rise, short range carry. And as a little bit of poke comes down onto Bombonian, there is that kind of disconnect, more or less, between the 2 carries of this team. They are very much like the University of Washington composition, where they're relying on the Rise and on the Senna to make it happen. But of course, they haven't brought it to just one member in form of Eigenrector on the Kog'Maw. And they've got their own thing to worry about as far as protecting the Rise and from the Senna from being slapped up by the Bear or charmed by the Seraphine or even walloped by the Gnar and brought into the rest of the team. And because of that, once again, I think both of these teams really playing on a razor's edge here that could go either way. And Kowalczyk trying to maneuver himself into the blue buff to land those saplings, but Verona's there to poke him out with that glitter lance.
Really good early
And
damage.
Kowalczyk is going to walk away from that one, pop the mastery. Going to try to heal that one back up with a potion or 2, as well as that passive. And it seems like Verona's keeping up the chase with that help picks. And for the moment, things can be a lot quieter at the level 1. No invisible twitch. making things happen so far, but Morona still as aggressive as ever, even when he's not playing the Twitch, is help picks doing so much damage between those passive powered auto attacks on the Lulu, and it's part of the reason why this combination works so well is in the mid lane, time hitting level 2 before his opponent is going to get locked up by the root for just a moment. Pasha winning out at just level 1 even. Against level 2 time as Lunero trying to look for an invade onto the opposing Raptors, but he's a level down under the Udyr, and Drago knows that he's going to try to keep looking for the Hecarim in this top side, knowing that he has the advantage and no one on Colorado School of Mines there to help him, as he's forced to not even walk back into his own jungle, but walk away from his blue buff that Drago 8 is going to start up right in his face. Glitterland's coming down onto 2 members there, but Lunero going to be there to try to find the smite, which Drago 8 doesn't have. No smite on either jungler as the knockup comes down onto Drago. Blue buff not going to get picked up by either.
Here's a Mega Dart.
Has the Mega. Ghost going to be popped as Lunero tries to walk away from the DOT. From the Tiger stance is maybe going to find him. Barbonian doing whatever he can to try to stop Mario Cool 4. We're getting the time with the flash and the Ghost. He's going to pick up the Wolves and he's going to pick up Drago's life. Eventually, devastating charge into the first blood for the Hecarim, but the root from Pasha, who makes his way over, is going to finish off the Hecarim as well. 1 for 1 for the junglers so far. But first blood going to mean that it is going to go in the favor of Colorado School of Mines. Blue buff quick, not picked up quite just yet for Lunero, who is still level 2, but Pasha's armed himself with double buffs.
Wait.
As time looking for the play, has the empowered overload from the damage, and now is going to hand over the double buffs for himself. Finding the solo kill in the face of the double buff empowered Pasha in time. Playing the Rise, you think of this champion as a late game carry, but he's got so much combo potential in the early game as well, and the likes of the Seraphine, who are not looking for those close range brawls, is really getting caught out by it, and it's going to hand over yet another kill to Colorado School of Mines because of it.
Yep. And this head start on the right, especially the blue buff, is gonna give Seraphine a very hard time to either manage her wave or try to roam, because with the blue buff on the right, the wave clear will basically be like,
oh man, speaking of late game carries, look at that Aiken Rector. As soon as the help picks comes down on him, he's empowered by his support and can run straight at his opponents just like that. And Focus Sashton and Kowalczyk on the Senna Maokai really seem like they're struggling down here. So almost a kill coming down, but the Ignite
there's Ignite.
The root as well. The Bramble Smash can do it, but a Sapling is going to be waiting in the bush as well as Kowalczyk picks up the kill onto Aiken. Rector walked a bit too far into that turret. The pass is going to apply that true damage, and Morona is going to try to answer back the kill for himself. One more Sapling going to land onto Morona as he picks up the kill. But he's going to try to walk away from this one. The root not going to connect in this alcove. Focus Sash, they're playing with fire here. Just needs one more auto, one more piercing darkness, and it's going to find it for himself. 2 for 1 down there in the bot lane to bring this to a 4-2. And even the Rise come down with insurance to make sure things come down in their favor. But now, bot lane setting themselves up for success. Mid lane setting themselves up for success. Ornn only going to continue to be an inevitable late game scaling threat just by sheer power of how much gold he's able to generate, how many resistances, all those stats he's providing for his team. And Colorado School of Mines in this early game, even if it's not back and forth kills firing back, suddenly they're just looking really well positioned in this early game to set themselves up for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and we're also seeing the Maokai Sapling being present in the jungle of University of Washington. That's not only gonna be generating more damage. Oh wait, the Udyr's attempting to start the Inferno Dragon? Or
yeah, it seems like he ran straight into the Maokai, spotted him out in that bot side. Stop him from starting up the Infernal Dragon. The health bars are topped off for now, but all it comes down onto the Senna. But it seems like with 4 members ready to rotate from Colorado, they're just going to have to walk away from that play. I'm sure Drago 8 would have been super happy to start up that 6-minute Dragon, but it's going to have to wait. Has to respect the rest of the members of the team. And Colorado School of Mines, even though University of Washington continuing to pivot their resources down here in the bot, and they're not set about it, as Lunero keeping pace with the Udyr as far as farm goes, and that's a big statement against one of the most fastest farming champions available in the jungle. Root going to land onto Morona, and 3 after him. The slow going to keep him at bay for just a little bit, but Morona has to flash away as the devastating charge comes through with the ghost, but doesn't knock it too far back. Morona can be able to walk away under his own turret in time, joins the battle with the Realm War. He's going to go down very low and be handed over to Dragon Blue, and he's going to keep up the charge. He has the bear slap, and he's going to pick up one more kill potentially. He's going to hand it over to Eigenrector as he moves his way over to Kowalski and almost finds him with the pulse from the Phoenix stance. University of Washington turning things around on that bot lane play where it seemed like Colorado School of Mines had the advantage for the moment, but some on-time positioning and a really well-placed slow from Eigenrector delaying the play so much. As in the top lane, we might be looking for a solo kill. The second hit of the Call of the Forge God not going to connect, and with Mario Cool 4 having the Mega on the way, I think they're not going to go any further in the top lane, as fortunately for University of Washington, the first Infernal Dragon going to get picked up with those kills down there in the bot lane. But where Colorado School of Mines seemed like they had a handy gold and XP advantage on all parts of the map, they seem to really overstep with that bot lane play there, as Lunaro committing so hard for the devastating charge and not finding the mark onto Morona as he was just sent into the wall. Because of that, they really get punished for down there in the bot lane link.
Again, I think this is a similar mistake that the University of Washington made in Game 1, which is diving the turret too early on. Like, we saw the Riots charging in, we see the Hecarim charging the turret range, and this is only before the temp, even before you have any actual tanky item. Like, Hecarim had a Shin, and Riots has all damage items. So diving in at such an early time, it's a very high risk, high reward thing to do. And with pillars like Lulu, that's just further decreases your odds at actually succeeding these turret dives.
Yep, and I would posit to you that's even potentially high risk, low reward, as if the Hecarim is able to find the devastating charge and it does send the Lulu back into his team, he's still tanking up the turret. He's still potentially going to go down just with how much crowd control and slows Lulu has available in her kit, as well as the Kog'Maw with the slow as well. And even if everything goes as they wish and only the Hecarim goes down, they still are not respecting where Drago 8 could be, where Pasho could be. And fortunately for University of Washington, they were there at the right time to follow up on that play. And because of that, look at Eigenrector. He's brought himself up to about a 30 CS advantage at just 9 minutes into this game, playing one of the most devastating late game champions available in the bot lane.
This head start is actually going to be even more scary than the Riot's head start early on, as we saw when the solo kill happened with against Pasho. Since after mid game started, Kog'Maw will always be having a range advantage over Rise, and look at the damage he just did to Senna in the bot lane.
Yeah, and it seemed like for a moment, Colorado School of Mines, they had this game kind of written for them, at least in the early stages. All they had to do was bide their time and take advantage of just those pure advantage they generated just from those kills. kills. But after that botched bot lane dive, Eigenrector, even though he's only got himself one kill, is threatening solo kills on the opposing support down there. Kowalski with the Fiendish Codex opting for the Leandri's Torment and not anything like the Bulwark of the Mountain thanks to that Spell Thief's Edge.
Here comes Red to the bot lane.
Really squishy down here in the bot lane.
Cast.
Yeah, Realm Warp is here. Polymorph
okay, and here's the teleport
as well from Bombonian. As time is here, he's got the room. Kowalski following up onto Eigenrector, who's finally going to get taken down. Kowalski going very low, with true damage going to come through as well. Mario Cool 4 answering back with his teleport of his own as the not ult comes through. Doesn't find much. Dawning Shadow going to find Morona as the double kill goes the way of the Rise. And time flashing back in for one more. Empower to Overload not going to do it, but that is still 2-for-1 in favor of Colorado School of Mines. To answer back for that earlier bot lane play, and some coordination not only from the Realm Warp, but from the teleport as well, are going to mean that now Time is answering with 3 kills and a big CS advantage over his mid lane opponent.
In the meantime, I think currently what Pasho needs to do is to follow in Time's footstep, like actually show up where Time is going to be, because if you are constantly outnumbered, you will be at a great disadvantage, and that disadvantage is going to snowball. And with champions like Rise and Senna being the ultra late game carries, or maybe even just mid to late game, you don't want them to snowball early on at this stage of the game.
Yeah, you can see Pasho, he has the teleport available. It was available for that play, but I can expect University of Washington, by the time the fight had started, they had just conceded the fact the Colorado School of Mines was on top of the play with the teleport and realized that if Pasho had teleported in, it might have spelled his own death. Seeing as the frontliners of Colorado School of Mines had already entered the fray and were already well positioned for any kinds of knockups. But University of Washington, even after that play, look at the gold advantage. They're still 2,000 up over their opponents, and a lot of that is chalked up to the CS advantages all across the board. Eigenrector up 40, Mario Cool 4 up nearly 20, Drago 8 up nearly 20, going on 30, and even though Pasho is a little bit of a deficit, the polymorph's going to come down onto the Maokai, goes down in an instant. Eigenrector with so much damage with the fully completed Kraken Slayer. Lunaro trying to follow up from the flank, but is going to get met by Drago 8, who starts up the Mountain Dragon immediately. University of Washington going to set themselves up for the Soul with a 2-0 advantage just 12 minutes into this game, and this is really accelerated pace as far as Dragon takes go for the University of Washington, and that creates some issues for Colorado School of Mines if they want to get the items into the pockets of Focus, Sashta, and Time before University of Washington can bring it to that. If the sole point is happening at something like 20 minutes, where Rise and Senna are just at 2 items, maybe even 1.5, then it's such a bad spot. Seeing as how far ahead University of Washington are at this stage in the game, the Kog'Maw is looking absolutely gigantic, and I can expect Colorado School of Mines did not think that they were going to be in such a disadvantageous position at the stage in the game. As Eigenrector waiting in the bush, it's going to force the flash out from Focus. Sashta Kowalczyk tries to land the root that's with it advance, but only trades his own life instead. Even the flash as well as the Realm Ward comes through. Rise is here. He's going to be able to land the root onto the no mana Kog'Maw and trade away at least 1 kill. Maybe looking for more there onto Lulu, but she's one tough customer to crack. Lunaro joining the battle as well if he is so needed, but that's still just a 1-for-1. And Kowalczyk seems like he's not understanding the limits of his champion, especially when he's opting for a build like this, where he's going straight for the Leandri's Anguish and has the Spell Thief's Edge as well. He's not tanky, and he can't do things like peel away a Kog'Maw with the Twisted Advance with the Bramble Smash, because he's going to get blown up in an instant with how fast this Kog'Maw is attacking.
Yes. But still, we have the fact of Rise being 4-1 with with 20 CS advantage on his lane opponent, and here just snapping just getting another blue buff. We need to for the moment, the objective of both teams is quite clear. For Rise, he needs to stay alive as long as possible and dish out those damages, because currently the only magic resist we are seeing on the University of Washington side is the Merc Tread from Udyr, and the other members are either not building any tank item or just building some HP. So Rise's damage will be decent in the upcoming fight. And here comes the
Charm going to come down onto Pasho, but he flashes back into the Nature's Pass. Rise maybe not finding the kill quite just yet, but Bombonian tries to delay this with the call of the Forge God, and the knockup from the Devastation. Secure a kill for Lunaro, who finally arrives at the right time, but as a result of that mid lane play, the first turret going to go in the favor of the University of Washington, past the plating phase, but still such a massive advantage for the bot lane of the University of Washington, and buying enough space for Drago 8 to walk straight into the bot side jungle of their opponents, even with no camps up to take. He's going to go in with the Bash Bear Slap and try to set up this kill as Time going to pass the play, but the knockup from the Wild Growth going to try to secure the kill, but Time fortunately has enough movement speed thanks to that phase rush to walk away from that one with his life. But now the expenditure of one of the most important summoner spells, especially from Colorado School of Mines, is trying to keep this Rise alive for as long as possible. And now suddenly University of Washington bearing down the mid lane. It's going to go down uncontested. Eigenrector finished off the bot lane, and now he's going to finish off the... Look how they're able to convert this advantage of the Kog'Maw. He's doing so well in this early game, and it's only going to get worse as he continues to get items. Converted into bot lane turret, converted into mid lane turret, and now converted into the second Rift Herald of the game for University of Washington. That seems like it's going to go unanswered. Onslaught of Shadows is available, but not the Call of the Forge God, and because of that, it seems like Colorado School might going to have to walk away from this one with Focus Sashta going down very low in the face of Mario Cool. Have to walk towards his support, almost gets one shot practically. Misplaced top going to keep him alive, as well as the presence of his support. But as the University of Washington continue to pull ahead in this early game, I want to take a moment to point out some of the item purchases that we have. In the bot sides, it seems pretty standard so far, but Drago 8 has picked up the Sunfire Aegis. This is pretty interesting because you usually see Udir's opt for the Turbo Pimping, provide them with that huge steroid of movement speed to run straight at the backline of their opponents, but instead, the Sunfire Aegis indicates that he wants to be able to provide at least some damage to bolster the Eigenrector, just in case he goes down eventually in those fights. And Mario Cool 4 as well, he's got a similar kind of philosophy as he has picked up the Divine Sunderer, providing that percent health damage that's going to do so much in the face of the tanky members of Colorado's team, things like the Ornn and the Hecarim. Not going for the Stride Breaker. University of Washington recognizing the flaws of their plan should they arise and are providing fail-safes for them with these tools. And it seems like with how strong Eigenrector is, they're not going to be missing out on any of that extra peel from the top side of their team. Is Lunero going to try to go in? Maybe going to try to use that onslaught of shadows, but Drago 8 is looking very big with that growth. And
a huge bear
as well. Maybe looking forward to play here as time at the ghost. And the root at least onto the Udirs. The onslaught of shadows goes through. And the time going to be on a rampage, following up onto the call of Cords on Eigenrector with no one left to be able to.
Here's a
massive neural! Gonna buy 4 charm for University of Washington. Every single member of Colorado School of Mines walking into a devastating wombo combo from University of Washington. Mario Cool 4 and Passional showing up in spades in a beautiful combo that found every single member of the opposing team, and it's going to set up University of Washington for the Ocean Soul point and set them in this game in such an insurmountably devastating position.
Yes.
Such a beautiful counter engage from Mario Cool 4, where for a brief moment in time, it seemed like Eigenrector had lost his key peel. No one was there for him, but that was because Mario Cool 4 was just waiting for the right moment, was charging up the Mega and re-engaged with the hop into the 4-man ultimate, setting up every single member to get caught by Seraphine's Encore. Such a beautifully played team fight from the University of Washington, and really biding their time against the tools the Colorado School of Mines have available to them. Once the Onslaught of Shadows and the Call of the Forge God have been expended, the flaws are really starting to show. There just aren't that many ways to try to follow up on the play in time. Rooting up Mario Cool and going down very low down there in the top lane. That is a level the Hecarim, and he knows it, as he's going to buy enough time for the Bear Slap to make its way over and pick up the kill onto Lunero. Just one item at this stage in the game, and it's looking so far behind as far as gold and XP go. But the reason why I think this is such a difficult position to win for Colorado School of Mines is just because of what we saw in that team fight. Even if every team fight isn't going to convert into 2 massive combination ultimates, you can see after Bombonian and Lunero going with their hard engage, there's just nothing to follow up with. Nature's Grasp, too slow to follow up. Time and Focus Sash have to play the fight front to back, and they can't access the Kog'Maw. They can't take him out in time, as now maybe a re-engage onto the Baron Nashor taking the charm is going to land. So at least one member going to take up the Senna. Call the Forge God going to find at least the Seraphine, but the rest of the University of Washington continuing to tear apart the rest of Colorado School of Mines, turning things around after the Baron Nashor taken. They are not done yet here, folks, as a triple kill from that artillery going to be handed over to Eigenrector, who now has 8 kills, 7 assists, and a massive CS advantage over his opponent. This one is looking all but written for Colorado School of Mines. It's now 9,000 gold ahead over their opponent, 7 kills and a Baron buff. University of Washington aren't backing. They aren't going to spend that gold. They're going to make use of every last bit of this Baron buff to find themselves inhibitors, find themselves turrets in the mid lane. You can see the Endear all by himself. One-man army against Focus Sashton, who got obliterated in that last fight. Rest of University of Washington have all the free time they need to take out this inhibitor, and it seems like even in this kind of position where maybe Colorado School of Mines will be taking advantage of the fact that University of Washington are maybe overstepping their bounds. It's looking so difficult for them, but they're going to try anyway. Lunaro's going in with
North ready.
On the 80 carry because he's going to go down in the meantime. Also going to try to find the root at least, and 2 members are battling onto it. Eigenrector's cutting it out beautifully. The Lulu and the Kog'Maw get off. Stop, as both members diving on them are going to be taken down. That time is all by his lonesome. to fend off against the rest of the team. A double ace from the University of Washington. One after another are going to mean that this game is going out in an instant. University of Washington tightening up in every way possible to finish this one out in just 22 minutes against Colorado School of Mines, where game one looked so dicey. University of Washington making sure that their opponents know that they are in the driver's seat in this series, and they're going to bring it to 1-1.
22 minutes game, and the 1,300,000 gold advantage. And now the score will be 1-1, and the next game will be the deciding match of this series.
Once again, this one is so important for the University of Washington, as it will mean they can enter playoff contention for CLoL if they can get themselves this victory. It's all going to come down to this game 3, a best of 1 between these two teams. University of Washington in game 2 looked so utterly commanding, honestly seemed like a completely different team than it had in game 1, where they had this composition that was just trying to scale up and really get this Kog'Maw online down the line. They weren't even going to let it come to that. They completely steamrolled the laning phase, the early game, all those neutral objectives. University of Washington completely demolishing the early game and dismantling Colorado School of Mines, it seemed, at every angle.
Yep. Now, so I think, Kestra, the reason why you feel like the University of Washington is a completely different team is because of the change, the massive change in the team structure. Game 1, we are seeing 3 carries on the University of Washington side, and when you have more carries than pillars, you're essentially creating an environment where it's basically survival of the fittest or all men for themselves, because each carry will be worrying more about their own survival in a team fight, since there's not enough other members to peel for them. But in game 2, we're seeing a Lulu and the Seraphine and the Gnar and the Udyr all over around the single Kog'Maw. Now, they all have a concentrated, like a universal concentrated goal, which is to protect the Kog'Maw. And that makes the whole execution much easier to handle. Yep, and immediately we jump into game 3, and this time we'll have the University of Washington on the blue side and the Colorado School of Mines on the red side.
Back to the positions we had in game 1, and bans looking pretty similar like they were in 2, but this time University of Washington going to be banning the Udyr out potentially from themselves, as Drago8, having played it twice in this series so far, is going to be having to ban it out, even though they have themselves the first pick. Both of these games, they picked up the Udyr for Drago in this first rotation, but instead they've got a new game plan, and that's why the Udyr is banned out. They're going to be taking the Senna away from Focus Sashed It. It really seemed like that power spot in game 1 for Colorado School of Mines, and even if it didn't show up as much in game 2, I think University of Washington are finally starting to understand how the compositions of the opposing team tick, and they're going to be taking away one of the key chess pieces for it. But instead, Colorado School of Mines is going to answer back with a power pick of their own by securing the rel for Kowalczyk.
Yep. If we send it out of the question, we can look at the other previous picks of the Colorado School of Mines as in terms for their bot laner. We've seen Samira, Tristana, Jin, Kai'Sa, and we've seen a Seraphine and a Swain pick. So it's actually fairly flexible on the Colorado School of Mines bot lane side.
Yep,
and we'll see how they combine it. Oh, it will be a Tristana.
Yeah, Tristana. Once again, a flex pick. Maybe with the hands of time.
Yeah, but with the previous pick records, they have Colorado School of Mines has never had a single AD damage dealer in their mid lane. It's always a mage or an assassin, an AP assassin like Katarina.
And as the Udyr and Skarner are both banned away from Drago8 to his going out, it's going to relegate himself to the Hecarim and take more of a carry role than those two crowd control providing tanks, and maybe change the dynamic of this jungle a little bit. But I think the jungle in that game 2 was the most different area compared to game 1, where in game 1 it seemed like Drago8, even as he was getting those CS advantages, wasn't able to convert so much out of it. But in the game 2, it seems like not only was he always there to follow up on those plays, make sure that the soul kills didn't happen, he's also there for the neutral objectives and really setting up the entire team for success. Whereas on the other hand, Lunero, on the Hecarim, as opposed to the Rammus, it seemed like he was falling behind a lot, not only in farm, but in playmaking, always late to the plays, whether it was where Drago A was making them happen, but even where his own team was making them happen, always showing up late, not there on time, not so efficient with his pathing. And in game 1 where he was on Rammus, that was all right, because Rammus, it was okay for him to fall behind as far as gold goes. He was still going to be providing that tankiness, that crowd control, and that taunt. It was okay for him not to be as efficient, as on top of that farming. But when you're playing something like the Hecarim then, as he was in game 2, then really you're gimping your team of one of the important frontline tools that they really need to come online in that mid game. And that's why I'm interested to see how Lunaro decides to pivot himself for the jungle role this time around. Rammus is available, but so far, yes, it is a full AD composition, but might not be as important unless University of Washington decide to opt themselves into some more marksmen. But if they do, it's going to be walking straight into the clutches of Bombonian's Malphite, who showed up so big in game 1. 2 of the key pieces of the Colorado School of Mines composition have made their way back into the team on this game 3, and for this 4th pick, I'm interested to see whether it's going to be the jungler or if it's going to be the mid for Colorado School of Mines.
And also with the last 2 bans on the Colorado School of Mines side, they completely banned out all the enchanters from game 2. Oh, and it will be the Rammus
3
jungle
of the 5 joining the team again. Rammus, Malphite, Rel. That's the frontline core that was so important to the victory for Colorado School of Mines in game 1. And while they don't have the Senna this time around, Tristana still that long-range 80 carry, and honestly, might even be even more fit for this kind of composition, as the rocket jump allows her to get into the thick of things alongside those 3 hard engaged members. But speaking of hard engaged, Pasho seems like he's going to be playing the set this time around.
Or
in
could be
game
a
2,
select
they brought in
set
a support
support.
pick in the form of the Seraphine, but go ahead, Lynk.
It will be a set support.
Yes, set support. There it is. Morona going to be the one piloting the set, it looks like. Is the Victor going to go into the hands of Pasho? Not as much of a supportive pick as the Seraphine. Going to still be clearing those waves and still be providing that zone control, but Corki going to be hover here. Potentially for Colorado School of Mines, and maybe try to round out that composition with some magic damage of his own. If it's not the Azir, it is going to be the Corki. Both these champions fit a very similar bill in terms of providing some far-range magic damage that's going to be scaling so hard in the late game, especially with those items. And if you offer things like the Sheen build, of course, Colorado School of Mines, it seems like in all 3 games, they have solidified themselves into one style of play, and where it didn't pan out so well in game 2, they've got a lot more comfort, I think, compared to game 1, and let's see how it decides to pan out in the face of kind of a different composition on the side of University of Washington.
Yes, and this time they're actually picking up a magic damage dealer, a hyper AP damage dealer in mid lane with the Victor pick, because the best solution to armor stacking is magic damage.
Right.
And Victor, being a battle mage, having a constant high DPS in a skirmish, will have his moments if he's not focused and engaged by the Colorado School of Mines, with the Malphite out, with the Rammus engage, with the Rel engage. This all comes down to the proper positioning of the backline of both teams.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting that both of these teams, by and large, have relegated their magic damage to just a single member of the composition. Like you said, Pastor won this Victor for the University of Washington, and time on the Corki. And what makes that so interesting is that when there's the rest of the team providing these kind of AD damage threats, then the itemization becomes very awkward, especially if Pasho can get off the ground on this Victor. Because suddenly, the Malphite and the Rammus have to worry about, do we still want to stack the armor against the likes of the Gnar and the Hecarim and the Senna, but miss out on the magic resistance that is going to become so important if Pasho starts to scale, starts to get things like the Void Staff. Even just the Blighting Jewel is going to tear apart the front line that Colorado School of Mines has so carefully constructed if they don't itemize properly against it. And it's not a matter of whether they choose to pick up that magic resistance, but whether they can afford to. As even if the Victor is there providing that magic damage, still, Eigenrector on the Senna showed up so big on the Kog'Maw, and he's going to continue to exert himself in this bot lane, I think, especially with such a powerful laner in the form of the Set. And even as simple the execution of the composition of Colorado looks like, still a lot of nuances that they've got to try to feel out, and still the chess match has not ended as far as positioning goes, as now they've got the Tristana and the Corki to boot. They've got to decide how they want to have these play around the kind of hard engage that we have on the University of Washington. The Onslaught of Shadows set with the Showstopper, and Gnar with his own ultimate. Lots of ways to access the likes of the Corki and the Tristana, but still, got to break their way through the Malphite and through the Rammus.
Yeah, but with the Showstopper, it is worth noting. It also brings up another question for the Colorado School of Mines, is how, for the tanks especially, is how many health do we want to stack up? Because the Showstopper's damage actually also scales with the Thorn target's max health, which, if it's really high, for example, a Cho'Gath, will be devastating for their own backline also. And also, the Showstopper is potentially like we can treat it as like a knockback, in a sense, away from the backline of the University of Washington. So which also reduces a front line that is in the close proximity with the Senna or the Victor. And creating an outnumbering situation is actually the ideal scenario for either team. You want to constantly being at a number advantage. You want to have 3 members focusing damage on the same target, or maybe 2 targets, instead of having to do a 3v3 or maybe 3v4, which is you're also like yourself are in disadvantage.
Yep, those kinds of lineups that are going to be set up in this game, still remaining on that front to back kind of style, are really going to be thrown into disarray because of the Set pick in the support role. Not only is he providing himself a front line, but also potentially disrupting that of Colorado School of Mines. Whoever gets into the thick of it is going to get sent right back out thanks to that Showstopper. And I think this is pretty interesting. Morona has opted for the Conqueror and the Ignite. Such an aggressive set of spells available for him in the support role. Not going to be opting for something like the Aftershock or like the Phase Rush or the Omnistone alongside the Hex Splash. Rather, he's continuing to be the carry practically, as he has in all these past games. And it's not going to change now that he's on the Melee Brawler set. And once again, Colorado School of Mines, 5 men bearing down one fat faucet.
They will run into the center.
The jungle here. They're going to go straight in. Sends the knock up in, anticipating someone walking out of the tri-bush, but isn't going to find anyone quite just yet. And here's the reason why Morona is going for that Conqueror. It's because this time around we are going to see Eigenrector on the starving Senna. Not going to be taking the CS for himself, but letting Set grab it all, pick up some items for himself, and allow the gold to come into his pockets through his passive soul generation, which is going to be enhanced because he isn't picking up as many minions.
Yes.
Now,
and just FYI, we're still playing on patch 11.4. That is before the Rageblade nerf, or maybe more like an adjustment that limits the total crit chance conversion to 100%, meaning that Senna will stop getting even more, like basically stopping Senna from having infinite growth on the unhit damage she gets from the bonus from Rageblade.
Yep, and for that reason, she's still going to be a premier late game pick. The University of Washington have drafted for themselves. And we talked a little bit about itemization before the game had started, and University of Washington is still just as subject to it as their counterparts, as even though Focus, Sashed It, and Time, each providing their own kind of AD and AP carry sources, Time only about 80% magic damage in his provision, and because of that, University of Washington might be tempted still to opt into things like the Thornmail or the Randowin's Omen, but they have to keep in mind that Bombonian and Lunaro, and even Kowalczyk, if he decides to opt for the Sunfire Aegis or the Something of the Life, they're providing a lot of magic damage of their own, and because of that, Mario Cool 4, Drago 8, and Morona still have to watch out for sources like the Sunfire Burn when they're deciding to optimize for their resistances.
As for both junglers, they're still very standard pathing, and no plan yet so far for the lanes. But on the bot side, we will be seeing University of Washington pushing all the way in and poking down that rail under her own tower.
Yep, as a jungler, you're always happy to find yourself clearing the full jungle as you want to get on reset as fast as possible. And Rammus, even if you kind of think of him as a bit of an ganking pivoting jungler, if he can find himself the opportunity, always welcome to clear out as many of those camps as possible. And even if it isn't as fast a pace as something like a Lilia or even a Hecarim, he's still doing his red buff at about the same time as the Hecarim, and gonna lag a little bit behind at this stage thanks to his lack of single target damage, but with both junglers finishing on opposite sides of the map, it isn't going to amount to too much, as we're going to go into a pause here. Potentially some technical difficulties. We will try to get back onto you when we figure out what's going on, but still a little bit to talk about in this early game, as with both junglers finishing on opposite sides of the map, Lunero doesn't have as much opportunity to make any ganks happen in the top side, especially considering that Mario Cool 4 has opted for the cheetah recall here, has crashed that wave in slowly, and is because of that is able to make his way back to base, pick up about a 400 gold purchase, and make his way back to lane without losing any XP if he's conducted itself correctly. But on the other hand, the bot lane of the University of Washington, they've got kind of a push going on of their own, and if Drago 8 finishing off this full clear is able to make his way over when that wave is about to crash, then potentially we've got a dive going on, but a lot of outplay potential, I think, available in the bot lane of Colorado School of Mines between the rocket jump and the stun from Rel, if that dive decides to happen. But of course, Drago 8 could simply just decide to take the safe route, get himself that bot lane Scuttle Crab, go for the recall, and make his way back up to the Grump when it spawns. I don't think he's got too much onus on himself to try to make something happen in the early game, but for the moment, University of Washington continuing to win out in the bot lane just by themselves. You can see the CS advantage, about 3 so far, maybe even more considering the Relic Shield. And look at that Eigenrector, whether he's playing the Kog'Maw, whether he's playing the Senna, able to generate so much damage in these lane phases, just spotting out those opportunities to generate some poke. And because of that, University of Washington keeping up the push as they had in Game 2.
And Corki will be teleported back to lane to catch up on to keep up on the experience, which means that for the next 6 to 7 minutes or so, there will be no teleport coming down from the mid lane of the Colorado School of Mine.
Yep, and even though Pasha's got the teleport advantage, Time, of course, does have the package available to him. As the on my way pings are coming down, the Rammus is on.
There's a flash engage.
From the ground, Drago 8 first blood, thanks to Focus Sashta with the rocket jump, bot lane on top of it with the rotations, and the rest of the team following up so quickly as the boot is going to land onto Eigenrector, gets tossed back with the lamp, the Ignite going to go down as well, Flash from Morona going to send the both in with the Phase Breaker, Eigenrector keeping himself alive and dishing out the damage as the Haymaker goes down as well, doing a lot of street damage, but the stun once again landing onto both members of the ball lane, Pulse Clash back in, Focus Sashta picking up his second kill of the play as Luminero not going to land the ball curl quite just yet, but Morona the only one walking away from that one with his life, as 2 kills for 0 going the way of Colorado School of Mines in a ball lane where it seemed like University of Washington were really exerting their prowess.
That was a bit of a misplay, because we have no when you have no vision near the entrance of the opposing team's jungle near the river, heading there alone is actually always a risky move. And also assuming the other team is always looking at the dragon just to make sure you don't, like as Hecarim, you don't like steal the dragon early on.
Yep, there was a question of why Drago 8 was in that bot side river, especially after he had already taken the Scuttle Crab.
Yep.
Maybe he was looking for that mid lane play, but I think that was less some mistakes on University of Washington's part, mistakes as there were, but Colorado School of Mines so on top of it with those rotations. As soon as Lunero spots out the Hecarim, he knows not only that he can go onto him with the rollout, but calls for the rest of the team as well. He calls the mid lane down, he calls the bot lane, and immediately every single member collapses onto the Hecarim because that they were able to secure that first blood so well. And even after expending those tools, winning out in that 2v2 in the bot lane, and now Focus Sashta not only has the Noon Quiver to facing down just 2 longswords, but he has a red buff as well, and we know how potent Kowalsk's been on this row. We might even see some more solo kills happening down here in this bot lane.
Well, we're looking forward to it. And once again, Hecarim spotted in the topside river by a word from the Colorado School of Mines side, and His whereabouts are now discovered, and Rammus is immediately heading towards
Hold
that
on a second,
dragon
Hex Blaster go down into the knock-up, into the explosion charge, into the rocket jump. Morona going down very low himself as well, but the defensive rocket jump going to delay the kill for just a little bit as a bad teleport comes through from Mario Cool 4. He has no Mega, he has no teammates, and he's going to have to run away from that one with the extra movement speed from the teleport. Really bad expenditure from the University of Washington to confound an already disastrous play. Focus Sashtet, who showed up so hugely in game 1 on the Senna, now on the Tristana, is showing he can do it either way, and has found himself with 3 kills and an assist, and is going to convert it into an Ocean Dragon to set Colorado School of Mines ahead in this game. University of Washington, where the bot lane was the key moment for the University of Washington in game 2, suddenly it's where things are falling apart for not only the bot lane, but for the rest of the game as well.
And the details for the last fight is essentially there's a bush near the river entrance on the west quadrant of the jungle, and Dragon 8 was spotted there, and immediately there was a swarm of spam pings from the Colorado School of Mines team, and at the same time, Rammus just immediately started heading down bot because they know that Hecarim will be in their own red jungle instead of anywhere else. And that created the opportunity for the Rammus to gank. I mean, I'm pretty sure Strago 8 is not aware of the fact that he was spotted, but for the bot lane of the University of Washington, you have to respect the Rammus gank, especially with a Ghost. You have to respect the gank if your jungler is not near you.
Yep, University of Washington still feeling a bit too big for their position. Because of that, they get punished. But of course, even though the Rammus was a big help in finishing off Morona, that all started what was practically a solo engage from Kowalczyk with the Hex Splash, landing the knock-up onto Aegon Rector so beautifully. This is why the pick has to be banned away. Rel is so potent with her engage range and how well she's able to layer all her different kinds of crowd control. As Kowalczyk crashing down into the mid lane is going to get caught by the gravity field for just a moment, but seems like all they're doing is rotating their resources towards this top side as Colorado School of Mines are going to bring themselves for this Rift Herald take. Maybe not starting out quite just yet, as Mario Cool 4 is a bit pushed in this top lane here, but he does have the River Ward available, and is going to be tipped off to any plays that might happen, but the jungler is there for University of Washington. On the other hand, Time with the package available is going to be the one catching the farm down there in the bot lane, but he's going to have to expend the package a bit early as he does get caught by the root, but not too upset about it. But Morona looking for the play here is going to stop her to bring the Corki into the wall. He's going down very low. Breaker brings him in for just a moment. He's keeping himself alive long enough.
Oh, one more shot. Oh,
Shadow not going to come out in time as he trades 1-for-1 in the 2-for-1 situation, even without the wave. Aegon Rector going to trade his life away for that of the mid laner, and
Asher will be caught up.
Rift Herald being taken, which Pasho is looking super caught out here. And look at the damage from the explosive charge. Double rocket jump into double kill for Colorado School of Mines. Even though they gave up their first kill of the game, they were able to trade it out and come out hugely on top, thanks to the Rift Herald being taken at just 9 minutes into this game.
Second dragon's coming up in 2 minutes, and
one thing I want to consider is that even though Focus Sashtet is looking so strong on this Tristana with 3 kills, 2 assists to his name, just the mere laning power of the University of Washington's players is still showing up, because they're still about 25 CS down in the bot lane when you look at the set, and it's kind of interesting because the set, hold on a second, the onslaught of Shadows going to find mark on both members as the Magnet Storm tries to delay the Hecarim for just a little bit further. Buys enough time for Kowalczyk to make his way back into the bush, but Focus has to force the flash away from that face breaker. The root not going to land, but Kowalczyk lasting a really long time and long enough for play, but Strong Shadow going to come through and find his mark onto the 80 carry, but Lunaro taking up for a really long time, but not enough to make it through the true damage that is going to go through, and University of Washington answering back with a big play of their own, and the well-placed onslaught of Shadows. Verona following up with some great CC of his own is going to mean that University of Washington starting to answer back in this game, and where it really matters down there in the bot lane, as even though they're down a lot due to those kills, still got themselves about a 30 CS advantage down there in the bot lane, and they still have room to play down there. Tristana not totally unstoppable quite just yet, and they just showed it with that play. As long as they can bring Drago 8 down there, as long as they can find their mark with the showstopper, definitely make the kill happen onto the Tristana.
Yeah, so it's worth pointing out, I think we're seeing another game of Divine Thunder Center, and here
Kowalczyk, a bit by himself down here. The crash down gets cancelled, and he tries to delay the stun as much as possible, but delays it too long as Morona's getting his 3rd kill of the game, and now he's on the rampage. The rocket jump, fortunately, going to be able to be casted before the face breaker comes off cooldown, but we'll also get a really bad spot there, especially considering his AD carry hand has made his way over. Then you have to respect how strong Morona is with the Ignite and with the Conqueror, and now with 3 kills to his name and a 300 gold bounty, suddenly it's kind of a battle of carries here as the Ram is going to roll his way in and taunt up the set. He's going to go down very low. He's not very tanky quite just yet, but he's going to try to delay the inevitable with the Haymaker. Fortunately is able to save his life thanks to that extra tankiness, and Time not making his way over to provide that extra damage quite just yet, but he is here now, and the Hex Flash is too. There's the crash down onto Morona, and Time going to join the battle with the showstopper, going to bring the support over, and the stun going to find his mark at least onto Morona. Haymaker once again, as in the meantime Drago A going to pick up the dragon, and kills going back left and right. The rocket jump going to go over straight into the melee range of Drago 8 as University of Washington turning this one around into a 3-for-4 and a triple kill for Drago 8 off the dragon take. Colorado School of Mines finding themselves in disarray, and I think it's really coming down to Morona on the set, setting up Drago for success as he's able to find the rest of those kills in that play.
Victor died fairly early in the team fight, but yet University of Washington was able to turn the fight around, which brings to, which brings the question to us: what if Pasho can survive a little longer, maybe another rotation of his abilities in a team fight?
Yeah, they're of course not the most optimal use of resources for Colorado School of Mines, I can imagine, as Kowalczyk really dumping everything that he could to try to take Morona down, and now he's going to try to use the crash down to walk away from that root, and he has the shield to keep himself alive. But as I was saying, they were really feeling like he could burst down the set, but he's just so tanky at that stage of the game. He only had himself the Iron Spike Whip and the Kindle Gem, if I recall correctly, yes. But still, with the Haymaker, he's just so tanky, and it bought enough time for him to use the Showstopper to really eradicate Kowalczyk from that fight, isolate him from the rest of the front line that they were expecting to follow up on it. And because of that, even though the Victor went down early, it bought enough time for Drago 8 to make his way off the Dragon, but the Magnet Storm is going to find his mark.
Engagement, but there's the Facebreaker stun.
Will get rooted up instead. As the Donnie Shadow going to get the AD carry kill, and now Egan Rector keeping himself alive in the face of the explosive charge. He's going to be able to find almost one more as the Lance charge from Kowalczyk, and the Light goes down as well, but Egan Rector will not drop today as Drago 8 there to secure the kill for himself, find himself at 4 with a 300 gold bounty, and suddenly we're Colorado School of Mines thinking that they can continue to find themselves those solo kills, the Magnet Storm coming through and the stun as well, but now not enough damage between them, even though such a big Tristana with Kraken Slayer and BF Sword, she is just 62 CS at 14 minutes into this game, whereas University of Washington have brought themselves on to a well-considered pace. And because of that, Umbral Glaive completed for the Senna, Stridebreaker completed for the set, and suddenly things aren't going to go the way that Colorado School of Mines had hoped they had, and as they had in the early game. Suddenly, University of Washington not only able to turn it around in the 2v2, but finding enough time for the jungler to make his way over as well, and suddenly there's a scary set, a scary Senna, and a very scary Hecarim as well, who's going to be able to keep on his way towards the Sterax Gauge, following up on that Divine Thunder. And this build is so deadly into compositions like these, because not only are you doing that % health damage with those Sheen procs, but also keeping yourself alive in these sustained fights in a lot of situations where this team composition doesn't have ways to burst you down. With how many tanks they have available to them, Hecarim is going to become such a huge problem for Colorado School of Mines, but not before Kowalczyk starts to go down with the crash down. Morona going to dodge out on it with some poor timing, but that's not going to stop Focus Sasha from going. Pocket Jump lands the stun onto both of them, but maybe this isn't what he wants. He is going to find the kill onto Egan Rector. He's going to use that reset on the rocket drop to walk away. Fortunately, Morona caught off guard and not able to use the Showstopper to its fullest effect. before Focus sashed it, finds the kill onto them. And look how incredibly brave that play was. Focus sashed it, knew he was tagged with the stun, and because of that, he dived right in with the rocket jump. University of Washington not at all anticipating and engaged from that range, and that's what's making Rel so powerful. Even though Focus sashed it, down so much CS in this bot lane, still making things happen with the Kraken Slayer BF sword.
Yes. And we'll see the Senna will be building her mystic item for the second and likely a Kraken Slayer.
Yep, just one of the most efficient builds for the Senna, especially when you're trying to scale, but I really like seeing the Emerald Glaive come out first. Even if it hasn't been used to its fullest effect quite just yet, it's just such a powerful tool for attaining that vision control that's going to be so important. As Focus Sash going to try to find out Eigenrector. Look at that, nearly one-shots him with the Buster Shot into the explosive charge. Nearly one more auto would have done it. Tried to jump the gun just a little bit, but still very powerful on that Tristana pick. Even if his build is a little bit stunted here, but you know whose build isn't stunted is Times, who's 30 CS over his own opponent and has the fully completed Muramana as well as the Immortal Shield Bow. I really like this build from the Corki. It's providing him not only with crit and with the Manamune that scales so well with his kit, but also synergizing so well with the rest of his items. Drago trying to look at the play here, goes for the Kowalsek, who's throwing the showstopper, goes through, shutdown going down onto the Hecarim, and now they're going to try to stun up Lunero, but that's not the target you want to find, as Morona in the backline is able to take out the AD carry, and Victor picking up the Rammus as well. Malphite with the Unstoppable Force not doing what he needs to try to peel out the AD carry, as the health bar still looking so low, as the Gravity Storm going to find its mark onto the Corki. He's going to get rooted up, and the Valkyrie going to try to get him away to safety, but Bombonian still pretty tanky in this spot as Time tries to find the play, but walks straight into the clutches. University of Washington hands over an ace to the University of Washington. The second Infernal Dragon, or the first Infernal Dragon, going to be picked up as well, and suddenly University of Washington turning things around in the team fight and not letting those kind of picks where Colorado School of Mines have made their money as of recent happen anymore, where they make the engage happen in a coordinated manner. It all comes together. And even if Focus Sashta is able to find a shutdown, it's not going to stop Morona and Drago from running all over him. And on the other hand, Colorado School of Mines, where do you think it went wrong for that team fight for them, Lynk?
Well, we saw the Malphite ultimate, which knocked out, I think, 2 or 3 members at least of on the University of Washington side, but none of them are actually the backline, like Senna, for example. So the Malphite ult only provided a brief moment of CC and its base damage, but meanwhile, Corki and Tristana were all near their blue buff, which is, I guess, about 2,000 unit-ish away from the Malphite ult, and they're not able to reach the Malphite to follow up on the CC in time. Because the thing with Wombo combos is, you first, like, yes, you apply the CC and the AoE damage first, but you need the follow-up to actually seal the deal. However, we did not see any follow-up. Like, it's just Rail and Malphite providing the disruption, the CC, and taking some damage in the process, but there's nothing else. Like, after that, it's a complete...
Rail trying to come down with the crash down, but Hecarim on the other, straight onto the 80 carry. Rammus there to feel for him, but Showstopper going to send Time into the turret. Health bar's going down pretty low, and look how much damage that Haymaker is able to do. No kills happening quite just yet. A lot of ultimates used defensively.
It was a close call.
Yeah, close call, I'd say, for both of these teams. Neither of them converting out of that one, but turning our attention to that last team fight where University of Washington was able to attain the ace. The reason why I think... hold on, just picking focus. Sasuke going in with the rocket jump, spots him out in a vision pocket, is able to secure at least one kill. Going out with the rocket jump, in and out, baby. That's the power of the reset, and that's the power of Tristana with 2 items. Spotting out the Senna, who thinks she can just take out a ward in her opponent's face, and Focus Sashta still making it happen, even 50 CS down on this pick. But as we've seen in the team fights, is he going to be able to provide that kind of power when the rest of his team is applying that area of effect crowd control, especially in the face of Morona, where in that team fight around the Dragon Pit, he was 1v2ing practically against Time and against Focus Sashta. And not only was he able to walk away with the kill onto the Tristana, he didn't even drop, and he is such a dangerous member of the University of Washington's composition, and only more dangerous now that the Sterak's Gauge has been completed for him. He's doing so much damage with these haymakers. He's staying alive. He's applying crowd control. He's tearing apart the battle lines of the opposing team with his showstopper, and you just can't take him out. And in the meantime, the rest of the front line of the University of Washington doing so well for themselves, as well as Double Divine Sunder in the top side, now with 2 items completed each. Sterak's Gauge and Black Cleaver coming through. Black Cleaver not only bolstering the attack damage of the rest of the team due to that armor shred, but finding a lot of value against things like the Malphite, against the Rammus, against the Rel, who's opted for the Locket of the Iron Solari.
And for now, the Dragon's coming up in 1 minute. It's time to prep the wards, and we're seeing a teleport available for the Gnar, and Victor there being spotted
going
by
in with the Valkyrie on to Pasho. Gravity
Wait, the stun.
Shutdown gets picked up. A solo kill for Time. His shield bow is going to drop at a small price to pay for a big play from the mid laner of Colorado School of Mines. He's been quietly farming his advantage in the mid lane in the face of Pasho, who's been lagging behind, and he's able to convert it into that kill, into that numbers advantage for the Dragon play, but still 50 seconds before it. Pasho definitely going to be up in time for the Dragon, but still a shutdown's a shutdown, and Time letting University of Washington know that when there's no set, no Hecarim, no Gnar in his face, he's going to make it happen against those carries. And that's kind of in the story of Colorado School of Mines style of play, but that's not going to be enough as we enter these later teamfight stages of this game. And in this kind of situation where set is all over the backline, Hecarim keeping the front line occupied, Gnar always threatening those big ultimates. Lynk, what do you think Colorado School of Mines have to do to make these teamfights go in their favor?
It's actually... like what they need to do is
at least watch for this team fight. Is Lunero gonna get thrown in with the showstopper? Kowalczyk with the Magnus is gonna find at least 2, but the rest of the members of Colorado kiting it out. Pasha gonna take out the support. 2 for 0 so far, and the rest of Colorado School of Mines forced to kite away. The Unstoppable Force fortunately flashed an Unstoppable Force away from Mario. Pool has to be respected with that ultimate, and that's where you make impact kills happen, folks, right before the Dragon is going to secure Drago 8, this Infernal Dragon, to bring the team to Soul Point, where Lunero, thinking he had to make it happen before the objective, which wandered a bit too far forward and did not respect the Showstopper's ability to bring him separated from the rest of his team, and because of that, Kowalczyk, feeling like he needed to follow up to keep his Rammus alive, ended up going down himself as well. Rel is able to make those plays, rest of the team just not being able to follow up on him, and it's not a matter of faulty positioning, but just really not having the opportunities to do so in the face of how many tools University of Washington has available to them. And because of that, Lunero and Kowalczyk, the KDAs reflect kind of poor performance, but still, that's not as much chalked up to choosing poor engages, though they have been, but as much as University of Washington, how strong they are looking at this stage in the game, and how much they can force the backline to stay at bay, even if Set is expending the showstopper just for the Rammus.
And back to the point before the last team fight, I think what both teams need to work out in order to basically dismantle the other team's overall combat capacity is isolation. Like as we see in the last team fight, the showstopper basically threw Lunero's Rammus under like the blue side's tower, and basically isolated him from the rest of the whole team of the Colorado School of Mines. And the Rammus just went down within seconds, even despite being a tank, because when you have multiple members on you, you cannot last that long. We are in a meta where tank is not exactly everlasting. We're in a meta where you need
time. Look at that, the damage you took. Yeah, and Lunero, part of the reason that tankiness isn't really come to fruition is because at just 25 minutes into this game, he's finally completed himself his mythic item, the Turbo Chem Tank. But in the meantime, for all this time, Drago 8's been at Sunder and Sterak's status. And we talked about in champion selection, maybe Lunero, all he needs is a more supportive pick where it doesn't matter that his inefficient pathing is starting to be exposed, but it's still being exposed nonetheless, and he's about 60 CS below his opponent. Of course, Rammus not farming as efficiently as something like the Hecarim, but still, it's just so much gold that he's missing out on because of it. He's 2 levels down and so stunted as far as item builds go, and I think that it goes for much of the rest of Colorado School of Mines team. As you can see, the support in quotation marks, Eigenrector has a Kraken Slayer, has an Umbral Glaive, has a Butcher's Knife completed for him, the Rage Knife, excuse me. And on the other hand, the set as well, Bramble Vest to boot, in addition to those 2 core items, as the rest of the team still struggling to scrape together whatever gold they can aside from time. He's been eating a lot of these resources, but has not been able to show up with these big carry performances in these fights, despite how many items he has to his name.
And over there in the mid lane, we are seeing Leandra's Anguish on Victor, which is basically the AP Mythic anti-tank item, and that is the right call if you're against the team combo of Colorado School of Mine with the Malphite, Rammus, and Rail.
Oh yeah, big value there. But speaking of big value, the item builds have been stunted for Colorado for a while, but not for much longer. The floodgates are starting to open. Finally, item completions in the top side, and of course the biggest one to talk about, Infinity Edge. Fully completed for Focus Sashtit, a very deadly Tristana. As long as Focus Sashtit can reposition himself in a way where not only is he able to keep himself from the engage of University of Washington, but also follow up on the engages of his own team. He's going to give himself a red buff for it. Both these teams playing for this bot river vision as a minute to go on the Infernal Dragon. University of Washington wants it badly, as it is going to spell the Infernal Soul and that permanent buff to set them up for success for the rest of this game. And even just a minute before the dragon spawns, neither team wants to cede away any space in this bot river. Lunero charging up that ball. It is just waiting in the wings. For the moment, Colorado holding on to the river position. It's going to cost them in the mid lane, as University of Washington recognizes that they are going to be able to force that wave into the opposing turret and force someone to answer it. And as soon as they do, suddenly Colorado playing with a numbers disadvantage in this river. And it looks like they're going to opt to accept that the wave is going to go down. And Lunero taking a lot of punishment here as Jogaway with the Devils taking charge, maybe looking for the play, but in the flank, Bombonian always with the unstoppable force. If he could just find those key members that he needs to. Lunero going to get rooted up, though. In the meantime, Mario Cool 4 has the Mega available. Going to go through Showstopper, going to find 2 members. Going to find 2 members. Both of them fear. Both of them sent into the wall with the Arnold. And now Bombonian all by himself in the backline. Facing down 5 members. University of Washington finding 2 key kills. Even if Focus Action doesn't go down, that's still a 3-for-0 for the University of Washington, forcing up both the key carries from Colorado School of Mines from the fight, securing the Infernal Dragon, securing the Infernal Soul, and now securing the Baron Nashor. And look at how they decided to do their target priority. All of them focusing on the front line of Colorado School of Mines, leaving Time and Focus Sashtit, who have these big item completions, to the wayside. They don't care about that. If they can just isolate those tank members, that's all they need to win out in this teamfight lane. And now here we go, Tom, the hero player tries to go down with the package, but it's just going to walk straight into a gravity field. Not going to find the player, trying to get it focused. That's just taking everything he can on the steal. Colorado knows that if they let this Baron go through, it is lights out, but they have, even in the face of a latch-stitch effort from these 2 key carries, and now, having staked everything on the Dragon, on the Baron steal, and it going out in shambles, University of Washington are in such a commanding position. Look at how much range he has. Look at the root. Look at the kill from the piercing darkness. That's a support, ladies and gentlemen, who has completed a Kraken Slayer on the way to the Ginsus, armed with Infernal Soul, armed with Baron, and now Mario Cool 4 seeing Eigenrector on the AD carry. It's just not want to be upstaged. Every single member of the University of Washington knows how much stronger they are than their opponents, and they're bearing down the mid lane because of it. So many resources expended. Bombonian finds the shutdown on the unstoppable force, and even though he's going to go down eventually, keeps himself alive. Focus has to go in as well, but he goes down very slow. But now before finding the shutdown onto the Victor, and now Kowalski in time, keeping up the chase. It's Time with the shutdown onto the support. 3 kills for 1 in favor of Colorado School of Mines, and turning things around in the face of Infernal Soul, in the face of a Baron. And University of Washington turning things around in the 5v5 team fights, but when Colorado School of Mines is able to fight on their own terms, they are able to turn things around on their opponent's lane.
And the Baron buff also. The Gnar being the sole member with the Baron buff.
have just one Baron to their name. It's only able to find its use in the bot lane, but suddenly 8,000 gold ahead. Infernal Soul to their name. University of Washington, it seemed like an unlosable position and unlosable enough for them to walk straight down mid, but as soon as they let down their guard, as soon as they think to themselves, it's all right, Drago, you can go ahead and pick up the opposing blue buff. We're just going to continue to bear down the mid lane. Suddenly, Colorado jumping at the opportunity. They know that they need whatever advantage they can find, and as soon as they spot one, as soon as they see themselves with the numbers advantage, they are going straight on to it, and they are rewarded in spades for it. With some huge shutdowns onto the key members of University of Washington's composition, and look how the gold has been allocated. Infinity Edge completed for the Corki. Absolutely terrifying. Going on the Flame Horizon over Pasho, and now Focus Asher with an Infinity Edge of his own, trying to find out Dragon Shadows to walk away from that knockup that surely would have spelled death, but they're not done yet. Here you go, folks, as Lunero gonna keep him knocked out, keep him taunted, and send over the kill to Focus Sash it. Verona late to the plane. Trying to make something happen as Lunero gonna get sent in with the showstopper. Facebreaker going to find a Magnustorm, gonna go on to 3 members, and now the front line going to get torn apart by the Corki. Turkey's absolutely doing so much damage. The Rocket Jump finding the reset pressure, and Verona the only ones left alive. Verona with only 1 HP left. The Ignite going down onto the rail, but not going to keep him alive. But look at the damage from Time! The Frost Bomb into the auto attack. All he needs is to find the opportunity to play the game and play the game he has, even with the Immortal Shield Bow, all the other items coming together, and he is tearing apart the front line of the University of Washington, who don't have the kind of itemization that they need to face off against him. They've opted for Divine Thunder, they've opted for Starrick's Gaze, they got a lot of health to their name, but the magic resistance
any magic resistance
right there just yet, as Verona opted for the Thorn Mail, and Drago 8, the only one with the Force of Nature, and because of that, Time, with the magic damage, with the Sorcerer's Shoes, is able to completely melt through them like paper. Whereas once they seemed so unstoppable as they were running through the backline of Colorado's School of Mines, now Time at level 18, 33 minutes into this game, Flame Horizon is being the hero that his team needs to face off against the Infernal Soul.
Yes, and Malphite is finally, also in the previous fights, Malphite is finally finding the ultimate on the right target, creating that disruption, just a slight disruption, this tiny window Colorado needs for their backline to have a breathing room and just, like you said, melt through the front line of University of Washington like paper with the Corki's magic damage. And here comes Nard cut out.
Finds the knockup, finds
Meganar will...
but the Mega's available! Dawning Shadow gonna find all 3, but isn't going to be enough. Showstoppers here. It's gonna find Focus, save them.
Corki's zoned out.
The walk straight into the haymaker! University of Washington now on the back foot. Time is down to half HP and has to walk away from this one as the rest of the front line going down. Drago 8 tries to find a devastating charge onto that key member. There's a couple force used to walk away in time, baited by his frontliner, is now in an awful spot to go down for the shutdown for University of Washington. Turning things around
15 seconds
in the team fight that they needed. 4 kills for 0 in favor of the University of Washington, and importantly 10 seconds before the Elder Dragon has spawned. It's only Bombonian on the map. No one there to crush the hopes of University of Washington picking up this Elder Dragon. This one is going to go their way without a fight, and with Marona in the bot lane continuing to bear down on that bot lane. And
we're possibly seeing maybe a double Dragon Ball up here.
All the one was a pick, but when all 3 of them walk into a Gnar ultimate like that, of course there's going to be consequences. And University of Washington finally showing up for the engage. Whereas once before, it seemed like Colorado School of Mines always able to capitalize on those numbers disadvantages. University of Washington baiting them into thinking they had another moment like it, but always there. Follow up on the play, and that's going to spell an Elder Dragon. That's going to spell a Baron Nashor potentially, and Infernal Soul, Elder Dragon. How much more combat power?
Oh, wait a second.
Arrow going to get obliterated off the face of the earth in the face of just 2 members. Thinking he can even muscle his way into this Baron Nashor. Take no siree. This isn't your jungle, this isn't your map, and this is not your game. Every single buff University of Washington has asked for is now in their hands. Corky trying to make the hero steal happen, but not enough to go through the smite. And now University of Washington, if this isn't going to finish off the game and finish off this series, I don't know what will, Link.
With Baron buff, with Elder Dragon and Dragon Soul, this will potentially be the last push of the whole series. Corky dropped down the package, hoping to zone out, but the magic damage is not enough.
But it's not enough. It's just not enough.
And we are seeing Meganar coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, Meganar is available to him, but look at Eigenrector outranging the turret practically. Hitting it from so far away in the face of the Elder Dragon, in the face of the Baron buff. The Nexus is at stake here for Colorado School of Mines. They've got to make it happen, but in their history, 5v5 has not been the opportunity for it. And Dragaway trying to charge it up on Boney, and Alvino with a good start. He misses his double force, and Ezreal trying to follow up on the play anyway. Time going to go in. The Magic Storm going to find at least 4 members, but Minerva's going to go down so quick. The suppression going to go down onto Time, and he's going to go down to the base of the Yellow Dragon. And where Colorado tried to make their last stand happen, University of Washington finally able to answer with every single tool that they needed, and because of that, they are going to win out in a 15,000 gold victory. 37 minutes, long and hard fought, just as it had been in game 1, but ultimately going to take the Nexus, going to take the victory over Colorado School of Mines, and going to secure themselves a spot in the playoffs for CLoL.
Man, Kestra, this whole series has been a ride with 0-1, with down on the score, and then the 1-1 and 2-1, and especially with the last 2 games victory, with all using, like, both games using different strategy. Like with game 2 on the Cogmo and the game 3 with a very evenly distributed damage output. Like if we actually look at the items, every single member on the University of Washington is able to do damage, and 3 of them are able to tank some damage in return as well. It's very well rounded, which makes the isolation tactic not efficient.
Right. And a lot of those advantages, I think, it wasn't just a matter of how well they were able to conduct them. Even in the early game, all throughout this game, or throughout this series, it seemed like University of Washington really kind of playing loosely here, a little bit sloppy it seems, handing over solo kills where they shouldn't have happened, and a lot of that was where Colorado School of Mines was able to generate those advantages and able to hold on for so long, not only in the early game generating the solo kills, but even in the mid game, even in the late game, always looking for opportunities to find University of Washington members all by themselves, getting a bit too much hubris, getting a bit too big for their britches. That's where Colorado School of Mines was able to play their game, and I think throughout the series, University of Washington was able to adjust to that kind of play style. They were able to recognize that in each of the games that they played, Colorado School of Mines always has this kind of binary composition that's really straightforward, front to back. I have a backline, I have a front line, you've got to get through it, and able to adjust to it in the team fights where it really mattered. And of course, it wasn't the most clean play in the world. University of Washington still handing over some kills here and there, still making it a nail biter, and still making it seem like it could have been anyone's game in game 1 and in game 3. But in that game 3, I think it really was the culmination of what they learned throughout those games, and they were really able to tighten up where it mattered, and it mattered at those neutral objectives that all went the way of the University of Washington. Whether it was a Baron, whether it was the second Baron, whether it was an Elder Dragon or an Soul, University of Washington, once they bring it to a 5v5, they're able to use a superior coordination, the communication, their positioning, everything coming together to make sure that this victory goes their way.
Yes.
Yep, and with that 2-1 victory, like we've said, that's going to mean a spot in the playoffs for University of Washington. Their journey is not going to end tonight, and it might have been a nail biter, but it's only going to get even more intense in the playoffs for University of Washington's League of Legends team, and we hope you will join us there when it happens. You can always follow us here on our Twitch channel or on our socials at U of WA Esports, but that is going to do it for us here tonight. We hope you will join us for our next broadcast to follow the journey of the University of Washington League of Legends team, but we're going to be signing off. I have been Kestra.
And I'm Eric, or you can call me Lynk.
Yep, and that is going to do it for us here tonight.
All right.